What's going on, gangsters? It is I, Culturedog. Hopefully everyone is joining shortly, maybe. Hopefully we are working. Bear with me a second. Seems vaguely promising. Of course, now my program's all pissed off since I actually did things with it. Alright. Yeah, I'd been planning on getting wicked prepared for today's Q&A. And, reading through everybody's questions and thinking of the most amazing answers for you. Alright, good. We got some working potential here. And yeah, nudes. There'll be some nudes. You'll see some boobs soon. But yeah, I'd been planning on spending all sorts of time getting prepped for today and, going over everybody's questions and all that. And then, pretty much whenever I try something new for the first time and it's computer related, then, that turns into about 8 hours of nonsense, which, oh, what's up, Wilson Nightstand? Shoutouts, and Temporary Scars as well. So it's been pretty much the entire day, getting prepped and up and ready. So, ooh, Temporary Scars has lots of questions. Wicked. And, so I finally got, everything up and running, I think. And, hopefully, some more peeps will be, joining us shortly. Some pan and scan questions are going to be coming in. And I do have a bunch of questions everybody wrote on the announcement video. So I've got those all hanging around, ready to rock. And 4K, what's up? 4K Cinema HD has joined the party. It's funny, I was just going over a list of my favorite YouTubers, and 4K was on my list, and I was like, man, I haven't seen any vids in a while. So Happy New Year to you too, man. Glad you can make it. And so we'll do some questions and all that stuff. Temporary Scars is apparently getting some prepped. We shall see what they are. But hopefully everybody had a great new year and everything. And hopefully everybody's ready for another year full of laserdiscs and whatnot. Chris Altman joining the party. Yes, Friday the 13th. That was another reason I wanted to do it today. Shoutouts to Chris Altman and Christian Hannah Horror and all the horror friends out there. I figured Friday the 13th would be an awesome day to do a video. And sadly, I didn't get a chance to watch any Friday films today. So hopefully one of you guys out there did too. Oh man, Seth Moore. I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Thanks for joining the party. Alistair is on board. Sick. So, I guess I'll get in some questions in a hot minute. But just going to go back in time and flashback. This is kind of doing double duty as a channelversary, as I didn't do a proper channelversary video. But I've been having a great time doing this this YouTube channel, and it all kind of started back in 2013, something like that, when I was stuck at work on holiday, and pretty much everybody in the office was gone. And the only thing that kept me sane, just sitting in a cube, was looking through YouTube vids. And I started seeing all these collection vids. Oh, welcome, Peter, Nick, John. Nice. What's up, John? And, I was watching all these vids, and then all of a sudden something made me think, I should search for Laserdisc. I'm thinking, all this time, I never thought anybody would have any Laserdisc videos on YouTube. And I'm like, all right, whatever, let me see. So I found all these Laserdisc videos, and then I was like, all right, maybe I should do one of these things. Of course, Zaranizerax videos was one of the first things I found, and he had a video all about how great LD was, and I especially loved his old flashback videos from the 90s, the Multimedia Chronicles flashbacks there, with him showing off his old Pioneer player, watching Blade Runner Criterion, showing it to a friend. So that was I love time machine videos. If you guys haven't seen it, you probably have. If you're on the Laserdisc Forever page on Facebook, a lot of these videos kind of make the rounds. But there's some great ones, including a walkthrough. I think it's listed as Tower Records 1990, but it's not actually. It's from 1993, but it's a bunch of workers at Tower Records going through and showing off the newest stuff that hit the LD stands, and it's total time machine, amazing stuff. And Peter plugged us on, or plugged me on LD Forever. I forgot to do that, so thanks, Peter. But yeah, so that Tower Records one is great, and then there was another one of the LD Forever members, and was it John Rotan? Put together a documentary from like 1991, just interviewing people about Laserdiscs from local shops and stuff like that. And those videos are totally amazing. So I'll put some links to those down below too. But yeah, so I got hooked on watching the Zarin Isaac videos, and then of course, he didn't have that many Laserdisc ones, so that led me into the fold of Cessna Ace, who I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Steve Vincent Furness is a great YouTube channel out there, if you haven't seen his stuff, and he's an amazing scholar of film noir stuff, and he is a big fan of Cessna Ace too. There's a guy down, I forgot if he was from Florida or where he is from, but he has pretty much just about every Laserdisc. Like, there's no, like, I have my own rationale of like why I collect and what titles I collect, but his rationale was like, I'm going to collect every single one. So either he collected every single one and dropped off the face of the earth, or something else. So we're all worried about like what's going on, but apparently he's still out there somewhere. But his channel's remained, an absentee, little child there for a while, unfortunately. But I got some questions coming in, so I better start getting off the the train of flashing back and getting nostalgic for 2013. Let's see, what did I miss? Oh, Temporary Scars wants to know what the golden age of Laserdisc is and why. And in my opinion, golden age is definitely early 90s and then up through, 95, 96 or whatever, because after that it started petering out a little bit in terms of being able to get things. And then by 97, people were talking about DVD, and that, there was the vibe that was taking over. But I'd seen Laserdiscs in the early 80s. I used to hang out in a video studio, a rental store that my dad used to be the manager of. And there was a Magnavision player in the store, and a copy of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band on DiscoVision in there. And I used to look at that thing all the time, like, wow, that's pretty cool. And thought, someday I'll get that. But there was some really good stuff going on in the 80s. The Criterion Collection rolling in, some great releases and stuff. But really, once letterboxing took hold, and I know some people don't enjoy the mid-90s period of heavy DVNR, and that took a while to kind of get ironed out a little bit. Some of the later transfers, those Super NTSC discs from 97 or so, are amazing. Like Fifth Element, if you can find a rot-free one. But yeah, just that early 90s period is really when it took hold with film fans. It started getting more coverage on At the Movies. Roger Ebert was pimping it. It was getting a lot of media coverage, and the special editions started rolling in, like the different cuts, the James Cameron ones and everything like that. So that definitely is ground zero for me. Oh, and also, will you change the name of your band to Sever the Penis? I think STD, as an acronym, already has some, Sever the Penis kind of notations in there. I mean, it kind of implies that your penis may fall off because you got an STD, but whatever. I think I missed another question, so hold on. Pardon my my clicky noises as I scroll up. What was it? Oh, Wilson Nightstand was giving a shout out to my 007 collection, so thank you, man. And let's see what else. Oh, Peter Biancardi's watching on his Roku. Oh, shout outs to Mrs. Biancardi. You rule. And make him get rid of some of his players, because he's got way too many of them. And have him send them to Vernon, Connecticut, because reasons. Who else? Oh, man, Data Vomit rolled in. Michael rolled in. Oh, Nick, oh man, he's the man. I'll be pimping his channel in my channel pimping section. Asked, do you remember the first few LD titles you ever owned? And yeah, I bought them the night I bought a Laserdisc player. It was 93. I just gotten my my tax return check, so I was like, I'm gonna go buy a Laserdisc player. So I ran out and I hit Saturday Matinee in Enfield, Connecticut, and I got Alien 3, which was a Technodisc pressing, had some rot. So the very first disc I ever played already had a little bit of laser rot out of the bag, and sadly. And then I got some anime titles, Project Echo and a Golf Force Eternal Story. So those were the first three. I got that first night, and then I got my Sony MDP 333. And well, John, what did John say? Oh, I was talking about games in some vids, like video games, like favorites. Trying to think of a favorite. I'm not usually on top of all the newer stuff, so I usually have little impetus to run out and buy the $60 ones. I'm a huge Mirror's Edge guy. Love Mirror's Edge, and you know, Bioshock, that sort of stuff. Vintage stuff, I'm all about. Old Infocom games, all the Zorks and all that stuff. Love those. Wishbringer is probably my favorite because it's made for children pretty much, and I could actually solve those puzzles. But yeah, I definitely run into the classic gaming mode. I used to do a lot of you know, Atari gaming and stuff. I'm a complete idiot though. I skipped over Nintendo for some reason completely. I think because I fell in love with PCs and you know, home computers, and actually before that Commodores. I went right from like Atari 2600 to Atari 5200, and then jumped over to Commodore 64, and then a few other like systems or little wannabe PCs before that, and then got hooked on all the games there, and then jumped from that to Atari 10. Was it 1040 ST? I can't remember if it was 1040. I think it was Atari 1040 ST. There used to be a place in South Windsor, Connecticut that would rent, you know, 5 1/4 floppy games, and I used to go there to rent Commodores, and they had a bunch of Ataris there, and they got me and my dad hooked into the Atari madness, and yeah, from there got into that, and then out on the outside of that, obviously got into PCs, and then wound up getting back into PlayStation 1 or PSX, and then yeah, so I missed, like, I mean, I played all that stuff over my friend's house and everything, and in fact we've got a Super Nintendo at the office now, and we were just playing some, you know, fighting game. We played a ton of games, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fighting, and my coworker was just yelling at me because, yeah, like, he actually spent decades playing those games, and I just kind of button mashed him to death. So, but yeah, love that stuff. All right, let's see if anybody else has got any goodies fired up. Oh, Film Nerd Jamie streaming from the Blu-ray player. That's sick. Temporary Scars. Do you find that you have a love-hate relationship with Laserdisc due to many titles only being available in pan and scan? Hell yeah, I do. Oh, unlike my other videos, you get to hear the people driving by. Yeah, I was definitely not a pan and scan fan. So that's, I mean, I was just talking, I was on the radio yesterday with another LD super fan, and we were talking about the reasons people collect these discs, and there's really no right reason. So my reason was because I was coming in that kind of film fan segment, you know, that golden era for me. So I was looking for stuff that was, you know, letterbox and stuff. Because before that I had VHS tapes, and really pan and scan for me was of VHS. Like, I never really felt a need to replace my VHS titles on, you know, Laserdisc in pan and scan. So if I was going to replace them, it was going to be, you know, fully letterboxed if it was a widescreen film originally in the theaters. So yeah, and I was just talking about it, I was such a dick because I would actually get, like, bummed out sometimes when I would get discs that were gifts. Like, I'd be like, like my parents got me, you know, Night of the Creeps, and, you know, just people would pay like $40 for it now. Night of the Creeps, what was the other one? Brain Scan. And I'd be like, pan and scan, or, you know, maybe Open Mat if you're lucky. So Yeah, I used to get wicked bummed about certain titles that were only available in pan-scan. We were just talking about Blazing Saddles. That movie had been reissued a couple times, and the copy I sold not too long ago was from the 90s, and that was like one of those things that it came out when letterbox movies were pretty commonplace, but Warner Brothers thought, it's a junky comedy, but that's a junky, gorgeous Panavision comedy, so it totally deserves to be given some respect, and I really didn't think it was going to show up in a proper letterbox version, but my boy Omar from Laserdisc Forever was just showing off his late release version, which is a widescreen. And yeah, that was a big surprise. And it was probably only because they were prepping it for DVD, because I had the commentary track and all that stuff on it. So that was probably why they ended up dropping it on Laserdisc as well. But yeah, there was so much cool stuff out there. And then you find out, it's pan and scan. Like, it kills me that Candyman it's probably open matte, because it wasn't a really wide movie anyways. But it kills me that it's not letterboxed. But let's see what else we got rolling in here. Film nerd Jamie is saying the best DVD produced, and the reason we have the SE DVD is Fight Club. I still remember that packaging. Menus. Yeah, Fight Club on DVD was sick. I'd ordered the Laserdisc. It got canceled because there was not enough being produced to get them out to everybody. But I actually made friends with someone who worked at Fox in order to pretty much social engineer my way into getting an early DVD, because at the time I didn't even have my first radio show, Culturedogs, which I started in 2002, where I was full-time talking about movies and all that stuff. I had done a bunch of other like random things before that. Oh, the Trunk of Funk's going by. But yeah, that was coming out, and I was like, oh man, I was in love with Fight Club. I saw it 10 times in the theater. I used to go at least twice a weekend, and just completely insane nuts. At that point, I had already been buying all the props and stuff, which you can see in my old Fight Club collection video. And I was super excited to get it. So yeah, I made friends with the guy at Fox, and he swiped one from a desk somewhere, and that was probably going to be earmarked for press, and sent it out my way so I could get it a couple weeks early. And that was way cool. Yeah, that was one of the first times with DVD that you realize, all right, someone's going to put some thought into the packaging here. That was back in the days of Warner Brothers snappers and all that kind of nasty stuff. And it had that really cool slip case and just really, really smart design. And yeah, the menus, it was the first time I ever saw like a fake kind of glitch at the beginning of the FBI warning screen. So yeah, Fight Club pushed the boundaries. David Fincher stuff always seems to push boundaries, but he talked about the Alien quadrilogy set, maybe the perfect Blu-ray set. I still don't have that sucker. I bought Alien and the whole series so many times. I bought the first Alien collection on DVD in like 1999. Then I bought the quadrilogy. So I got so many different copies of it. Of course, I got the Laserdisc because I got all of them on LD. But I need to get them on Blu-ray, despite the orange and teal controversy on some of the flicks there. But Temporary Scars asked, what was Laserdisc's biggest downfall? Poor marketing, high price point. I think it was just a natural transition to DVD. It was a weird kind of meeting of formats. DVD was the features and the attention to somewhat cineasts' needs, mixed with the commercial viability of VHS, the ease, the compact nature of it. But that was a real sketchy point too, because we didn't know if everything was going to go the way of DivX, which was Circuit City's pay per play format version of DVD. But yeah, I think it was just a transition that people were digging the convenience of DVD, and then the fact that it was offering the same special features, etc. People were starting to pick up widescreen televisions, and you had the anamorphic. So I think if Laserdisc had held on to anamorphic or promoted that a little bit more, that might have helped a little bit. The price point was an issue somewhat, because early DVDs I was dropping about like $25 each on DVD, so it was cheaper than what I was paying for Laserdisc, because usually a Laserdisc for a normal single disc was like about $30 or something. So if I had $100 to spare or not to spare from my paycheck, I would get like 3 discs or something from Suncoast. So shout outs to Paul who wrote in. But yeah, so it was a mix of all that stuff of DVD, just kind of transitioning in and picking up all the slack, and some maybe missed moves on LD's side. But for me, I was just super psyched about the lack of chroma noise. Film nerd Jamie, what was your first movie going disappointment, and did it ever improve on further viewings down the road? And Peter Biancardi mentioned Open Mat. Yeah, we might talk about that later. Stop the 4-3 hate. No way, man. We're going to keep hating. First movie going disappointment. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was funny. I was just thinking about one recently that it was definitely not the first. But I remember I didn't like GoldenEye the first time I saw it. I almost walked out of the theater because that was the reason. So I'll probably explain it in a further review at one point. But I was really, really disappointed in GoldenEye, and I've warmed to that incredibly since. One, because it's a staple. It's an LD staple. So it's almost the importance of GoldenEye, the Laserdisc, is more important to me than even the film itself, probably, at this point. So just upon rewatching it and just the silliness of some aspects to it, I've totally warmed up to it. But yeah, for the most part, stuff that I dug right away. And then if I disliked it, I usually either didn't revisit it soon enough, or I just, and I've convinced myself that I still hate it. But yeah, I'm trying to think of the first disappointment. It was a couple of years before that. There was Judgment Night. I remember that because that movie was pimped as this sick. Like, I was expecting Warriors meets Escape from New York times 20. And I was like, this is going to be sick. And I'm like, these guys are going to get off on the wrong exit on the way to a football game. And it's going to be insane mayhem. It is going to be a couple dudes and Timothy Leary. Or no, Dennis Leary. It'd been better if it was Timothy Leary. I'm like, that's it. Just a couple dudes. So, and that was it. Matt wanted to know, what was your favorite anime of all time, or at least in your collection? I've got a lot of newer stuff recently, and some sick stuff like that Macross box set over my head. So Macross is obviously like my favorite series, definitely. Cowboy Bebop's a strong contender. Serial Experiments Lane, I wish I had on LD because I sold my DVDs like an idiot. And Akira is definitely, I think, my favorite, and that was like one of the first anime LDs that I got that was imported from Japan. I picked up a used copy from Laser Craze in Boston, and it was just the CLV version in Japanese, and I would just watch it all the time. But the other series that would give Cowboy Bebop and Macross a run for the money is Dirty Pair, and I got a bunch more Dirty Pair stuff coming in the mail soon. So as soon as that slow boat hurries up, I can get that going. I got a question. Do you look for movies in Japan yourself, or do you outsource everything to Kevin Kobos? I actually, I have not even. There was a big surge of people really digging Yahoo auctions and all that stuff, and I'm a bit of a lazy bastard. And I'm sure my boy Moiki can get my back on some of these things. If I have to think about it like a little bit too much, I'm like, nope. So I really dig Kevin's kind of service that he provides me. He's got a shop called the Good Squid out in Japan, and he gets a lot of great stuff, and he shops for me basically. He knows what I like, and then he says, hey, I got this and this and this and this, and then I'm like, yeah, because I still remember seeing those discs for $80 a pop in stores back in the 90s. So I really dig the just the service and the personal back and forth. Oh, I have to go up. I lost some questions. But yeah, so that's it. I haven't gotten into Bai or any of those things like that. It just I get twitchy just thinking about it. So I mean, maybe if somebody else wants to, Peter Biancardi and he can go to Bai for me and get some discs and then hustle them to me after the fact. But yeah, I just I didn't get too involved in it, which is crazy because on DVD I was way into importing DVDs, and I would look up some weird Korean copy of a David Lynch film that was never released over here, and I would have to translate the page. And maybe that's it. Maybe I just got burnt out on having to translate some Portuguese page so I can get La Strada Perdida or whatever and get it imported here. So yeah, that might be why. But I just really dig that experience of, befriending a shopkeeper and him looking out for my my kind of vibe, what I'm into, and all that stuff. I used to be that way with Metallica bootlegs in the 90s. There was a shop called Second Coming. I think there was one in the Bowery in New York, but I used to go to the one out in Cambridge in Boston, and they would know I'd be the dude looking for Metallica bootlegs. So I'd just be trying to walk around the shop, and a guy would come with a triple disc, set from Italy, and be like, Metallica? And I'd be like, yeah, man. So I love that. Yeah, the personal shopper experience. Right, what's the next one? Do you think the general public's view of Laserdisc being a failed format to be inaccurate? And can a format that has been in existence for as long as Laserdisc be considered a failure? Yeah, I think pretty much every time I read a piece on LD being a failure, I think it's pretty much 1,000% bogus most of the time. Every time I read something that's what the problems were with LD, it's always one of those exaggerated infomercials where, the guy's like, has this ever happened to you? Oh my fucking God, it's so fucking heavy, I can't, that sort of hyperbolic, total bullshit. So I see that all the time. One, they're so heavy. They're so heavy, really? I don't know. If people can handle a 180 gram LP, they can handle lifting a fucking Laserdisc, really? And then, some of the other things, you got to turn them over and everything. And I call shenanigans on that one too. I think people that stream and watch Blu-rays pause their movies a lot. I think people go take leaks. I think people go on snack breaks, and they act like a Laserdisc flipping aside is a rape of your mind and your eyes. And I understand that it's forced, that you don't get to choose when that break happens, but come on, man, it's really not that bad. I can understand that it was exciting when DVDs came out and they had the layer shifting. So, but obviously DVDs had the same problems Laserdisc had. You had to flip them originally until they found the way to do the layer shifting, and so it is technically 2 separate layers. It's just you don't have to flip the disc anymore like Laserdisc did, but I think, people pause stuff more often than not. And when I always thought about flipping discs, I always felt like I was a projectionist, like changing reels or something like that. That was my vibe. And it felt kind of, had a more a cinematic verisimilitude, to coin a phrase, to it. Yeah, that feeling it's time to change the reels. You guys can go smoke a cigarette. You can go crack open a Zima or whatever, and then I'll do this and get ready for the next side. It was fun, and I know some people get totally burnt out on CAV discs, just how long it takes to get through them all, but yeah, so that's one which I don't really agree with. People tend to forget the length. The fact that it was out from 1978 to in Japan 2002 for Tokyo Raiders came out then, but it stopped being pressed in 2000 in the U.S. That's a long time. So it's weird. It was a niche format, and people like to, I don't know, act like my grandpa about it because of that. Is it a failure? No. Was it adopted into massive amounts of households, so that it was as prevalent as VHS? No. But then does that mean it's a failure, or to have a niche product that eventually catered towards film fans? I don't know. I don't think that's a failure at all. In fact, if I think of Blu-ray ends up going that way with curated, kind of boutique imprints, if it's all going to be like Severin Films and Scream Factory and Arrow and all that stuff, as long as they're still releasing the films in a good way, it doesn't matter if it's mass produced. And it's funny because sometimes I actually feel bad about mass production of it making its way into everybody's households when maybe it isn't really for everybody. So tons of people would go load up on DVDs when maybe they weren't as big a film fan as the people that were collecting Laserdisc. And maybe for those people, just catching something on cable is good enough. And so I don't actually think the collector's mentality necessarily has to apply to everybody. So I kind of feel bad that people now are looking back on their massive collections and they kind of feel duped in a way. for going out and buying into all this stuff and picking up all these videos, and now they feel that they're worthless. So I'm kind of cool with it being a niche aimed at the people that do find it valuable. So I don't feel the need to have to convince everybody in every household that they need to be loading up on optical media or whatever like that, if that's not really that big a part of their life. So, and that's kind of the thing. They're like, well, if it was as big as VHS or as DVD, then it would have been successful. But Laserdisc totally was successful. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'll have more on that later. In fact, I'd love to do a fake Laserdisc infomercial. Get some of that nonsense going. Seth wanted to know if I ever delved into VCD. And yeah, I thought about it, because there were a lot of HK bootlegs being sold on those things. That was a weird transition period, that period between Laserdisc and DVD, when VCD was marketed in some aspects as this next thing. And gaming, I remember gaming, and like there was like kind of like sort of like I don't know, it was like porn stuff, but it was like interactive porn they were trying to pimp on VCD. But I remember Phantom Menace being on VCD, and I thought about it. I almost checked it out, but I never did get around to it. Let me see what else we got. Oh, Film Nerd JV said he saved up $200 to get his first DVD player in 2000. Yeah, man, I think mine was it 99 or 2000? I got a Panasonic A120U, and it was $200 or $300, yeah. And I remember being super psyched. It was ugly. It was huge, and it was amazing. It still plays right now. I've got it in my band's practice space. We use it every once in a while to like project DVDs behind us. Still going. Can't stop that thing. You can put a shoe in it. Werewolf Games. When are you going to make a Laserdisc player maintenance video? Some of the guys know some of the history behind this. I actually shot, before I went on vacation in May, about a good 3-4 hours worth of like awesome footage of me taking apart, putting together, and doing basic maintenance on a good like 3 or 4 different players. And somehow that footage got lost, somehow being me, or deleted it like an idiot somehow. And so now I have to do it again. So it's definitely coming though. Yeah. Peter says, ultra rare GoldenEye rules. Yeah, you know it, man. And yeah, so yeah, now I'm getting the slack for not liking GoldenEye. Yeah, all right, true confession time. The other movies that I got in trouble for, well, it wasn't because I didn't like them, but it was because I didn't see them, because everybody else told me they were crap. And then now they're all considered classics. Were Office Space. I had friends come up to me and were like, I was excited to go see it. Mike Judge, man, right? Follow up to, his time doing amazing artistic work on Beavis and Butthead. And then a friend just said, yeah, nah, it really wasn't worth it. It was just a whole lot of nothing. And then shortly thereafter, Coen Brothers came out with The Big Lebowski. I had a ton of friends who were like, nah, total disappointment after Fargo. Just, didn't deliver anything, really. Just stay away from it. So I listened to those a-holes. And I endured some crap for listening to them. And now they're considered untouchable. So I've seen them since. But don't listen to your friends, because they're out to get you pretty much. Ooh, Sean Gillette from Melody Forever. Peter made him come here. And yes, Macross set. Woo! Suncoast. Gave a shout out to Suncoast. Yeah, man, I was all about that Suncoast. I was just talking about that last night. There was one in the mall in West Hartford, Connecticut, or Newington or whatever. And that was my place. I used to pre-order the discs and go down there. And the cool thing about the Suncoast was that you could pre-order the stuff, and they give you like a little bit of a discount, and that was it. But it didn't matter, because LDs weren't deep discounted. Like maybe some places would. Ken Crane's would sometimes, but everywhere else they would have the MSRP, and then you'd get to the store and it'd be a lot cheaper. And they didn't do that with LDs, so it really didn't matter if you got it from Columbia House or Suncoast or wherever, because it was all going to be the same price. So later, when DVD rolled in, I didn't want to go to Suncoast to buy that Anchor Bay copy of Tenebrae, because it was like $35 when I could get it for $20 or $25 somewhere else. So Suncoast, it was no problem with that with Laserdisc. It was really cool. Which Laserdisc Forever members do you suspect smell like taquitos? Well, taquitos indeed. Probably, yeah, I'm trying to think who would be the most taquito-ish. Yeah, probably Maxine. Smells like taquitos. It's true. Yep, Judgment Night, all right, thriller, nothing more. From the director of Predator 2, no less. Yeah, and I think if I watched Judgment Night again nowadays, I'd be fine with that because my expectations were, lowered. Speaking of James Bond, James Hester wants to know, do you want Craig to continue? Or are you ready for a new take on the character? No, I am ready for Craig to continue. I was just talking about this last night. I think it would be way cool if he would hop on board for a continuation of what went down in Spectre. And, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of speed up, which is too bad, because, I mean, I know, like, 2 movies in, everybody's already, I know the media is always fueled, speculation on who's going to play James Bond next, but there was a little too much of that too early, so it gets tiresome when you have a really good James Bond in play, and he hasn't even gotten to make, as many movies as Connery or more, and then they're already, like, talking about the new guy, but I could let go after one more flick if they did like a really cool like wrap up for Spectre, and because the other bummer is that they're kind of setting up a very like Honor Majesty Secret Service-esque situation, and that never got a proper payoff because George Lazenby flaked out, and then Sean Connery came in for Diamonds Are Forever, and they never capitalized on what had been established at the end of Honor Majesty's Secret Service. It was just kind of, it was brought up in the pre-credits teaser, but it didn't really have any weight behind it. So, it's going to suck, because nobody's really going to want to pick up where Spectre left off with a new Bond. So I really hope Craig does it, and then sets things up to a point where somebody else then maybe can take over. I don't have anybody picked yet. I was just talking about how when Craig had not been announced, my pick was Jason Isaacs, because he really had a similar vibe to Hoagie Carmichael, who they always said is what James Bond looked like. Ian Fleming described him as looking like Hoagie Carmichael. So, but nowadays I'd have to think about it, who the new guy is. So, Matt Wheaton said Robotech's my favorite anime ever, next to Akira. So, nice. Love that stuff. That's really got me hooked on it. I mean, I'd been into Star Blazers and as a kid, Voltron, all that stuff. But I had read like the first issue of Comico's adaptation, and I had seen the ads for the first like Harmony Gold video cassettes when they were going to just release Macross over here, not as Robotech, but they were going to sell them on a per tape basis, and I was too poor to buy it. And I remember seeing it and going, that looks cool. And I used to buy the models. Me and my dad used to go to like model shops and stuff. And I used to have, Valkyrie models and stuff before seeing the show. So I was like already a built-in fan by the time Macross rolled around over here on these shores. And I saw Robotech listed in my TV guide. I put 2 and 2 together because Robotech was like the rebranded name on some of the models. And I'm like, well, if Robotech is the U.S. hustled toys or models, I'm wondering if that show is also a repackaged Macross, and it turned out to be. So it was a good gamble on my side. But at first it was on at like 4 in the morning. It was horrible. So I didn't have a working VCR at the time, so I had to con my buddy into conning his dad into setting it up to record from like 4 to 4:30 for me, and then I'd go over their house and watch episodes. And then eventually I started taping them all myself, and I kept fastidious notes about which episode was on what tape and all that stuff. So, can't wait to see what Dirty Pair stuff you're getting. Me too. I'm hoping it shows up soon, man. 4K mentions many benefits of collecting is owning certain movies that won't be available for licensing reasons. Just bought Summer Camp Nightmare. Yeah, I was just talking about that too, about how there's some titles that maybe they will come back, maybe they won't come back, and I know some people say that's the only reason they get Laserdisc is to get movies that aren't available on DVD or Blu-ray, and I just like Laserdisc, and I especially love 90s movies on Laserdisc. So I mean, I could get the net or chain reaction on Blu-ray, but I don't really want to. I kind of want to watch the Laserdisc. But yeah, there's some flicks. Like, there's, of course, The Keep, which you can stream on Netflix or whatever, but you get that widescreen version on Laserdisc. Penelope Sphere's Dudes was a really cool flick. It's John Cryer and, what's his name? It's going to kill me now. I can't think of his name. The other guy in the flick. But Lee Ving's also in it, Flea, and it's about a bunch of punkers from New York deciding to go out to L.A., and meeting some crazed truck enthusiasts in the meantime, and turns into like it's a comedic / revenge film. A lot of different tones in it. Cool flick, yeah, really cool flick. Not available as far as I know, still on DVD or anything. So yeah, and I was thinking about DVD, and I don't think it's been reissued yet either. Is Incubus, which is a really fascinating flick. It's from some of the people that did The Outer Limits. And like on their spare time, they decided to go make this weird, like satanic, black and white creeper with William Shatner, and it's all spoken in the made-up language Esperanto. So it's totally bizarre. And yeah, there was a lot of great history behind it. People thinking it's cursed, and people thinking that it was lost forever. And it was kind of like if you ever saw that John Carpenter. Cigarette Burns episode of Masters of Horror. It was like one of those kind of movies that like you'd find it and you'd lose your mind or whatever. And someone found it in like Paris somewhere, and it did come out. And I tried to show it like legally at a film house that I used to do it, like at a coffee house in Hartford, Connecticut. And I tried to get the legal rights. We used to show stuff off the cuff, like off the books all the time. But we decided to start making it legit under a LLC, and the rights reverted back to the producer. It was like a 90-year-old dude, closed up his shop in Santa Monica, and gone. So the rights, yeah, they're just sitting around, like on some guy's shelf. Yeah. So and who knows if he's still alive or what's going on. So that there's a great old, I don't know, it was Kino Lorber did that, but there's a great old DVD with a lot of cool extras and stuff. And yeah, it's not showing up anytime soon. Dirty Bear is also awesome sauce. And this is Sean from Melody Forever, not some chick named Michelle. The Kobos is the man, right? The Kobos is the man. And now I'm almost too leery of letting him know what I like, because I know he finds it so fast. I mean, obviously being a James Bond film collector, never thought I was going to get The World Is Not Enough like on Laserdisc anytime soon. It's a really, really late release. It's worth a decent amount of money, and it shows up a couple times a year on eBay. So yeah, that was one of those titles where I was like, all right, yeah, if you ever get it, like, I'll take a shot at it. I guess I figured a ton of people would be looking for it, and he found it for me like in no time flat. Like, I was not prepared for that. So now I almost don't want to tell him what I like, because he's going to find it. So, and yeah, you're welcome, Shadow Man, for answering the question. Check out Shadow Man's video. He's been getting a lot of cool Japanese discs and unboxing them, and some great stuff. So if you want to live vicariously through some other collectors getting some cool Japanese things, head over there. And Gundam reference from Matt. I've been toying with the idea of going into some old Gundam stuff. And what else? Everyone at LDF smells like taquitos. Man, that might be actually the total answer. LDF is Laserdisc Forever. I mentioned it before. If you guys have not been there and you are a fan of Laserdisc, go over and request a membership and tell them I sent you, so they can get annoyed with that, hearing that over and over again. Speaking of Metallica, I'm a longtime fan of Marilyn Manson. What do you think, Em? It's funny, I'm more into the earlier Marilyn Manson albums. Saw him live once or twice. Wasn't like a super fan or anything like that. Beautiful People is one of the catchiest songs ever written. But yeah, there was a good kind of nasty vibe, kind of with a punkish edge to those first couple albums, and started to kind of drop off after that. But I should probably really take a listen to some more things. But yeah, I caught him live in with Clutch at Toad's Place in New Haven, Connecticut, in maybe 95, 96, something like that. So, and then I forgot, he was on Mayhem Fest a couple of years ago too, so I saw that. And what else? Let's see if there's some other Oh yeah, Film Nerd Jamie was talking about the LD-sized packaging for Blu-rays. Yeah, if you haven't seen those, they came out in the UK. They didn't come out over here, sadly, but they decided to release Blu-rays for a bunch of flicks, including Star Wars: The Force Awakens in 12-inch square jackets. So pretty cool. So it's interesting. You have to wonder, did they do that thinking that was going to appeal to the vinyl fans and not even realize that there was a kind of historic 12-inch video package? But even if they did, it's really taken off with LD fans. A lot of people picked those up and grabbed them. Did I miss a question or two up here? Pardon me if I did. In your opinion, is Michelle actually Sean Robert Gillette, or is Sean Robert Gillette actually some chick named Michelle? I think Sean Robert Gillette is a chick named Michelle that is actually a dude named Bob in disguise and smells like taquitos. And what else? Bam. I think there's some more down here. Pardon me while I flip through here. Flipping is fun, but it gets annoying when it's a CAV copy. I was just seeing somebody talking about the definitive collection, and they were like pretty much ready to lose their mind. But I know my boy Peter is a big fan of the single-sided players, especially the boutique, the LDS2s and all those kind of nice pioneers, and then some of the later ones. So maybe he'll get that HLD XO at some time and flip away. But I mean, my first player, Sony MDP-333, didn't have auto flip, and I used that till about 98 or so, and I mean, still it fires up, but never had a problem flipping discs, so I was cool on that. More difficult for a lazy slug like me for CAV or bust. It's a neat shame at hipsters like us. Yeah, there's been all sorts of talk about what happens if the hipsters get a hold of the LD players, and then it's all going to get saturated. The market's going to be saturated with people looking for the crappiest prints only. So that's cool. Actually, I'm hoping if some hipsters decide to get into LD that they only want old 80s discs and pan and scan only. Something like that. Paul Shackleton, what's up, man? I jumped straight into DVD in 97 and then back into LD. And yeah, I was the same way. We were just talking on that radio show last night about how when DVD came and I saw, whoa, no chroma noise, I was like, sign me up for that. And mosquito noise didn't really jump out at me that much, and any kind of like macro blocking and all that stuff didn't really jump out at me that much right away. And nowadays when I'm watching a DVD, I'm like, oh, come on, man, look at those gradations, look at all that macro blocking. And then some of the they start to look a little fuzzy or digital now that I've gotten hooked on Blu-ray. But when I first saw it and I saw like A Bug's Life on DVD, I was like, yeah, buddy, I gotta get me some of that. And then eventually fell back into LD once I started thinking, these 90s movies are way fun to watch. Like a flick like Virtuosity is really fun to watch on Laserdisc. And when I inherited the big stack of discs from a buddy of mine that gave up on the format, and I had films like Face Off in there that I never owned, I was like, I could start getting these now for like $1 a pop or $5 a pop sealed, and and have this cool retroactive kind of nostalgic moment with it. So Payback was Gabe Vacaro's first DVD purchase. My first DVD, I went freaking crazy at Circuit City. My first DVD, though, I bought at Media Play, and it was Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery. So I had that before I had a DVD player. And then the week I got my player, I bought Jacob's Ladder, Dark City, Gattaca, what else? And I know there was probably 2 others in that stack. Blade, and just like when I got my first LED player, I would watch those opening scenes over and over again. Oh, and The Fifth Element, of course. Film nerd Jamie God, I would kill to see an old school video store again. I know it's a trip seeing some of the stuff out West Coast, because like sometimes there's there's some stores out there that are these weird kind of residual, creatures that are just left sitting. They still have the old ads in there from like the mid '90s and whatnot, and they're just but they're not really thriving or anything like that. It would be cool to see like an old school video store, like up and running and really doing its thing. Ben just wrote in, I just bought my first laserdisc player. Cool, man. Don't hold it against me. I don't know. People are picking up these things and they're like, oh man, Culturedog's fault. He got me into them. But oh yeah, Sea of Earbus was talking about the video of Tower Records in the 90s. Love that thing. What else is it? What is your favorite Bond film from Nick? That is Honor Majesty's Secret Service. I'd never seen it until maybe 94, maybe, something like that. And I had been told by my dad that it was horrible. And I don't even know if he saw it in the theaters or if he saw that horribly butchered ABC TV cut that they used to show where they added in like a goofy narration or whatever and they reordered some of it. So probably he didn't even see it properly. So I can't really hold that against him. But it was one of those flicks. It was never on TV. It wasn't really on the cable stations. And it wasn't until TBS started that awesome trend of showing James Bond films like crazy in syndication that I sat down and watched it for the first time. And I was just completely captivated. I was just glued to my chair the entire time. And it's cool. Honor Majesty's Secret Service is like the one film directed by Peter Hunt, who had done a lot of editing on the series before that. But it's got a different vibe than everything. It hews way close to the book. And so it's one of those along the lines of, From Russia with Love. That's, very faithful to the novel. But just the vibe, the story was really good and had a little bit extra that some of the other flicks didn't have. There's even like a weird, romantic 60s style montage with the sun glimmering through the trees and stuff like that. It felt a little bit outside of the Bond canon. Like it had a little bit extra juju to it that some of the other films, probably wouldn't try to pull off. So I think maybe it was having Peter Hunt on board. He kind of wanted to push the envelope a little bit. But, I mean, just totally romantic, the Swiss locales, and, great cars, great cast. Diana Rigg's amazing in it. So that's my favorite. Other favorites, of course, I was always a fan of You Only Live Twice. I'm kind of, into the Connery flicks hardcore, but that one in particular was one of the first ones I saw. My dad took me out to go see it with a double feature with Thunderball and a revival. And, so that one's always going to be in my heart. Goldfinger's up there. The Living Daylights, I'm a huge Tim Dalton fan, so that's up there. And Casino Royale is untouchable too. So those are probably my hot picks. And, oh yeah, Shadow Man's talking about Craig being negative regarding Bond. It's tough too, because I understand where he was coming from when he came off of Spectre. Yeah, it's weird. Craig is like a pretty funny, affable guy a lot of times, but then, if you push him or whatever, he kind of bristles and pushes back a lot of times. And I think, his comments about he'd rather slash his wrist than do another Bond flick, I totally understand that. He had just gotten done with a flick, and he didn't even get a chance really to come out and say, hey, I'm proud of this new movie we did, we worked hard on it, or whatever. It was just immediately, hey, what's the next one, or what are you going to do next? And he could have handled it with more decorum for sure, but it's like, really, you're gonna tell a long distance runner the second they win, you're not gonna say congrats on your race. There's when are you gonna run again? And at that moment, you don't want to run another race, so you have to think about it and sit with it for a while. So I don't mind that really at all. And I know Connery was a dick towards the Bond series too for a while, and he came back and did it, but. So I don't really mind if he has, problems with, the series right when he's done with the film, as long as he puts his all into the movie. Like, if you watch Diamonds Are Forever, like, Sean Connery's sleepwalking through that thing. Like, he's sleepwalking on his way to get that paycheck. Just kind of, where's our paycheck, Money Penny? Oh, that's him calling right now. So, As long as he doesn't do that. If he actually does another film and puts his all into it, then I'm cool with that. Tom Hiddleston, either. Yeah, I'm down with the Hiddleston. He could pull it off. I could see that. Oh, LaserCon shout out. Yes, Peter Biancardi is putting it against all odds, despite the internet shitting on his every dream, is putting on a convention in September. If you want to find out about it, you should get on the Lasers Forever page and find Peter Biancardi or find the thread about LaserCon and talk about it. So yeah, it's going to be in September. Of course, I don't have the dates exactly, but it's like the 13th and 14th or 16th, whatever week that is. It's that weekend. And there's going to be some really cool panels. There's going to be stuff about anime discs, horror discs. I'm going to curate a film and maybe do some talking. And maybe do a live stream from there. So that should be pretty cool. And yeah, all that sort of shenanigans. So find out about that. And it's wicked cheap. It's a private thing. It was going to be like this huge, big event. But it turned out to be like a private, smaller, intimate affair. But, you know, it's early in the game. You can totally get in on it. And there's going to be some trading going on, so it might be a chance to get yourself a Wicked player. There's going to be a raffle, too. I think he's going to raffle off an LDS1, which is, like, way cool. So there's going to be some discs, I think, raffled off, too, and then there's going to be, like, you know, a trading setup, so you can go and bring your discs and sell them or pick up somebody else's or whatever. So it's about time, because the Norwegians have been doing a laser disc festival. This will be their third year coming up, so, and we couldn't get anything together here in the States, so it's out in Indiana. So if you're, it's cool though. That's like halfway across the state. So if you're in the States somewhere, just get yourself to Indiana. So it's going to take me about 12 hours probably to get out there, but it'll be worth it. When will your podcast air? I don't know. As soon as I get these other knuckleheads and I'm going to do it with together, we're talking about doing a Laserdisc specific podcast, and with Moikey and Sean Robert Gillette or Michelle. And so yeah, as soon as Moikey and Michelle get their stuff together, we're going to make that happen. Paul Shackleton mentions being in Tower Records in 1999 and was picking up Criterion Close Encounters, and the assistant said, "Why are you buying that?" It's funny, I've been tried, not because it's a Laserdisc, but I've been attempted to have people talk me out of buying things. Laser Craze asked me why I was buying the original CAV Terminator 2, by that kind of like metal colored box that had the handwritten note from James Cameron inside, because the T2 Special Edition was just about to come out, and they're like, "Why are you buying that? Just go put that back and wait. The new one's coming out in a minute." And likewise, I've mentioned it before, but it's utterly hilarious now that the Star Wars Special Collection discs, there were the CAV releases from Japan, and like a white border on the covers, that they're so beloved now because they were completely discarded when the definitive collection was coming out, and they were on clearance at all the the big cities where they would order a lot of imports. Like, they were the coolest thing to have for a while, and then they were the not coolest thing to have almost immediately. And so yeah, people are like, "Why are you buying that? The definitive collection's coming out." So yeah, so I have had people ask me that before, and yeah, people have asked me like, "Why Laserdisc?" in general a lot. So Film Nerd Jamie, when's the Exorcist 3 Blu-ray coming? By the way, yeah, rest in peace, Mr. Blatty. Yeah, I know, right? So hopefully soon. I haven't picked up a copy yet. That was one of the ones, sadly, that I didn't get a comp copy from Scream Factory. And yeah, I gotta give shout outs to Scream Factory and Arrow Video, because they give me screeners, and I can actually check out a lot of product even if I can't run out and pick it up all the time. So yeah, those guys are way cool and very helpful for keeping my channel exciting. So in fact, I got some new Arrow stuff I gotta watch and get reviews up too. But yeah, I'm hoping soon. I gotta go actually buy it and watch it all, and then fit all that in my schedule. But yeah, Exorcist 3, really cool flick. Way underrated, and when it came out, nobody really thought twice about it. And then we saw it, and we was like, "Whoa, this is actually pretty cool." Let's see. CAV Bus licensing is keeping At Play in the Field at Fields of the Lord on only VHS and LD, or Kathy Bates nude. Not sure. Was she also was she nude in something else? Was it like Sideways or something? Oh, maybe it was About Schmidt. I think it was About Schmidt. Sideways had some other terrifying nudity. How often do you watch Yanni live at the Acropolis? Yeah, if you're a fan of Yanni, you know you got to watch that all the time. It's been a while. I got to fire that up. That was a big bone of contention on the Laserdiscs Forever page. Omar Kabir over there, a jazz aficionado and overall LD superfan, was trash talking the Yanni going back a ways, and I was like, Yanni live at the Acropolis is way cool, man. And he wasn't having any of it, and Moiki got dragged into it, and Moiki checked it out and liked it too. But yeah, I had only heard people mocking Yanni. He was like, Zamfir, master of the pan flute, you made fun of. Slim Whitman, and then you made fun of Yanni. And then I finally saw the Live at the Acropolis video on PBS. Like I said before, that they used that video to print money, basically. Whenever they had a big fundraiser, they'd be like, show Yanni again. And yeah, I watched that, and I was blown away by the musicianship. There was a killer drum solo, some really good violin solos, and the cheese factor sounded less cheesy with the full-on orchestra going on, and the band. The band was way hot, so they were all like really talented musicians. And so I overpowered the turd lip mustache, and felt the power of Yanni. And it's funny, I keep hearing the same thing from other people. Like some guys I know at work were like, dude, Yanni at the Acropolis, we'd always blast that CD in college all the time, like after getting back from the party. So yeah, they're out there. So the Yanni fans. Again, it's usually just Live at the Acropolis. I bought another studio LP of his that was just the direct feed from his synthesizer, and it was pretty lame, but whatever. Lars Jensen, I'm wondering whether you have any limited edition number LDs. Limited edition number ones. I don't think I have any number ones, sadly. I do have some limited editions overall, like the ET Signature Collections numbered. Trying to think of if... Is Nightmare? I'm trying to think of Nightmare for Christmas is numbered. Yeah, I should actually go through a video with all the signed limited edition numbered ones and kind of go through those. But yeah, I don't think I have like a first pressed one, sadly. But I was just thinking recently about it. My wife, I got her a huge book years ago with Johnny Cash, like a 4 CD set, 1 DVD set, like retrospective, really cool book. But in the blister packing, it had a big, like, supersized J card on the back, and for some idiotic reason, they decided to put, like, 1 of 10,000 or whatever, like, in huge numbers on the back of the J card, like, to let you know that you're going to buy 1 copy of the 10,000 copies. But if you look at it, it looks as if it's lying to you and saying that you're getting number 1 of 10,000. So it's hilarious if you go on eBay and you look for the Johnny Cash book. I forget, it's a Cash the Legend or whatever. It's a huge book. Everybody's got number 1 of 10,000 because it's not. They just have a copy that has a J card on the back that says it is 1 of 10,000. Gabe Vaccaro, have you ever met any members of Clutch? Believe it or not, I have not met anybody from Clutch, which is hilarious considering the many amount of times I've seen them. I used to go see him a lot back in the 90s, and I've really slacked on recent years. I got to get back out there and check him out again. But yeah, sadly, I mean, I used to go see him in little dive bars and stuff like that, and we used to bump into a lot of the other members. Like I saw him with Fudge Tunnel, and Alex from Fudge Tunnel was hanging out. But yeah, I didn't get to talk to Neil or anybody like that, which is too bad. But yeah, love Clutch, great band. Right, what else? Hipsters only go for Disco Vision. That is right. I cannot get into the Disco Vision. So, yeah, more power to them. See the new announcements from Arrow Video, Wolf Guy with Sonny Chiba. No, actually, and I usually get emails from them, too. So, are those UK only, or are they US ones? I'll have to check. But I love some Sonny Chiba action, so I would be totally down for that. From there, Jamie said, would love for someone to cook up a Blu-ray LD combo player. Yeah, it's funny, because the DVL players, the DVD LD combo players, I mean, people love them because they're like, yeah, it's LD and DVD. It's old and new together. But once you open them up, really is like a DVD player and a laserdisc player duct taped together. They're really not integrated well together. There's two different things that kind of trade places when they need to. So you could theoretically make one. I think Make Magazine should totally make one, because they've done ones where you can gut out an old Atari 2600 and turn it into a Blu-ray player. Someone's got to be able to find a way to either like gut a DVL or something and make it into a Blu-ray, which could then technically be backwards compatible with DVD anyways. Blu-ray, DVD, LD combo player. That'd be special. Speaking of the 90s, Jean-Claude Van Damme once called up my fiance at 1 in the morning. Honest to God, true story. That's pretty amazing. I was just watching Hard Target at work last week, and if you haven't seen on Amazon Prime, I think it got turned into a series, but I don't think it's up and running, the full series, but his pilot, Jean-Claude Van Johnson, hilarious stuff. It's great. He plays an aging action star. He plays himself, and really good cast, and basically he's secretly been a secret agent this entire time, and every time he goes to do a film, the only reason he's sent to that location is because there's a hit going on. So it's kind of like Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. So instead of Chuck Barris, he got Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he actually plays another guy that looks like him in a hilarious scene. He tries to infiltrate this villainous lair, and everybody keeps saying, "Hey, what's up, Philippe?" And his cover's blown, but everyone say, "Hey, Philippe." And so there's a guy named Philippe that works in the engine room of this place that looks just like him, because it is him. And really, really funny stuff. They do a lot of good self-referential stuff to, talking about how Time Cop is the best movie of all time and how it's so much better than Looper and all that really cool stuff. Shadowman, are you buying DVD Blu-rays mainly new or from eBay? Actually, I don't think I think the only disc I bought from eBay was the Steelbook Best Buy edition of Planet Terror, because I picked up the Death Proof one. And I wasn't really like a major Steelbook fan, but I was way into the Death Proof Steelbook when it first came out. It was like a kind of reddish, reddishy, maroonish kind of color, and had like a bonus disc in it and stuff. And I never got the Planet Terror one, so I figured recently that enough time had lapsed, because once those sold out, they got hot. The secondary market lit up, and then it took a while for them to kind of chill back out again. So I figured, now I could get one. So I got one sealed for almost next to nothing. So that was way cool. So I got that. But no, normally I go new or used bins from FYE or Newberry Comics. Newberry Comics is probably where I get most of my used ones from. But other than that, it's new at brick and mortar stores or Amazon. So that's usually it. And I think I picked up a couple used ones from Amazon too. But Full Metal Cowboy said, I have Forrest Gump on Laserdisc. Is there any player you recommend me look into? And where would be a good place to look? eBay is still, the best place online to find a copious amount of players. There's always a bit of a risk with shipping. That's why some of the guys that, like myself and Peter Bancardi, etc., that have turned into, wannabe service techs have decided that it's cool to get broken players, because a lot of times they're not really broken, or they just need some very mild maintenance, and you can get them up and running again. So that's cool if they, you don't have to worry about them getting damaged in shipping. But it sucks when you pay like $500 on a CLD 99 and you're looking for it to come and show up in great shape. But yeah, there's tiers. And it's funny because we were just talking about it. There's some very, very strong opinions on players, and especially in the Laserdisc groups, etc. And once the world decided that Citizen Kane was the best film of all time, the world also decided that the HLD, XO and the X9 were the best players of all time, and that if you didn't feel like dropping $1,500 to $5,000 on a Laserdisc player, then you were foolish. And reality, I think, is a little bit more varied to that. And in fact, the most people I see that are getting into the format now are picking up old 80s single-sided players and industrial players. And those things are pretty much a dime a dozen. If you look into them at a store, like a Goodwill or a thrift shop or something like that, it's hit or miss. Like, a lot of people find that stuff there, but it may take you a while. So it depends on how patient you are, really. If you're going to wait forever, you can go. But so you can get one of those things, usually pretty cheap on eBay, and then if they break, then you're out like 30-50 bucks or whatever like that. Shipping, that's the problem, because shipping is expensive, because they are heavy beasts. So if it's shipped relatively decently, it's probably going to cost you at least 25-30 bucks and then up. So even if it's a cheap player, you're still going to have to kind of like double that price possibly to ship it. But for just general workhorses, the Pioneer CLD models are, they served me well for a long time. The 500 series, 600 series. I had a D504 and a D505 for the longest time. Those did well. The secret players are the Panasonics. There's a lot of good, even like low-level Panasonics. And then up to the LX900. They're not as easy to find, but the kind of word of mouth among the service techs and everything is that you don't buy the Panasonics because you can't get the parts to replace them, and it's just there's no support for them. But the reality of the situation is usually they don't break down. So that's the kind of thing. The Pioneer, the mid-grade ones, all eventually need a new loading belt. And then some of them have a little ring on top of the spindle motor, the little grip ring, and it wears down and it can't grip the disc properly anymore. So when you hit stop, the disc just keeps spinning. And you can go at it with like a chamois stick and kind of scrub it down and resurface it a little bit. And that'll get it going again for a little while, but eventually you're going to have to get that going again. But so Pioneers need a lot of tender loving care, and my Panasonics, like, they just don't need anything. So I've got an LX670 at work that we just use all the time, and it just keeps on going and going. So yeah, there's not as much support for Pioneers, but they don't break down. So I mean, I'm sure they will eventually. But yeah, they got that going for them. But yeah, so if you want, the Pioneer Industrials there's a lot of huge fans of those things. They're usually cheap because schools had them or businesses had them and then dumped them. So there's a lot of those out there. Yeah, pardon me, I'm starting to get sniffly. I'm allergic to late night, even though it's only 9 o'clock where I am. But if you want to get them outside of there, jump into Laserdiscs Forever. There's a lot of guys on there that pick up lots from Craigslist or something. That's another option. If you're in the States, go to Craigslist, look for a lot. A lot of times there's crap out there, so you have to be ready to strike like immediately if something cool comes up. You can get players really, really cheap, and then lots of discs and all sorts of stuff, so that's another great aspect. Or you can, join up with Laserdiscs Forever and see what the people on there have, because they have access to lots all across the country, and then maybe they'll sell you a player. And a lot of times people end up getting a lot of them. And once you have like 10 or so players, you're not so precious about them. And the people will sell them to you for reasonable prices as opposed to trying to gut you like they do on eBay sometimes. So that's that for that. Let's see. More to talk about OHMS S. Very cool. Film nerd Jamie was saying OHMSS, Honor Majesty Secret Service wouldn't have worked with Connery, but Lazenby worked. I wish Lazenby had stuck around. I think I would have been cool with Lazenby doing the Moore films, but instead of Moore, and instead of those Tom Mankiewicz scripts. Shadow Man was saying he's got to watch Honor Majesty Secret Service because he fell asleep a couple times watching them. And Alistair said the UK got 3 Bond movies in LD that are pan scan. Yeah, there was a couple other markets only got pan scan. I've got a pan and scan copy of Tomorrow Never Dies from Hong Kong. That I don't think they got a widescreen version of there. There's the Japanese market is killer for James Bond, and then they're pretty much all except for The World's Not Enough in the States. So yeah, we got a lot of nice love. I haven't picked up any of the French discs or the UK discs because I don't have a PAL player. Like I don't really get into PAL. I didn't mean to freak out. If Moikey's still out there, he's going to freak out because I said PAL because he hates that. But I mean, I might get them just to get them at some point if I can have a PAL NTSC player. Let's see. Oh, Darth Boy showed up, man. What's up, buddy? I was going to give him a shout out. I never even got to do my shout outs for all the channels because everybody started coming in with cool questions and stuff. Darth Bryboy's got a channel. It's not just collecting and stuff. He gets into just talking about anything, just vlogging and DVD collector, etc. And big Bond fan. It's from Pennsylvania. He reminds me of and not Phil Anselmo politically or his thing, but he's like a collector version of Phil Anselmo, his voice and everything like that, and kind of he almost looks like him a little bit too, but obviously way cooler guy. But you saying Dalton is criminally underrated, and absolutely true. Amazing Bond, and true. And Pierce Nightshade, I love the first 7 Bond films after. Diamonds is hit or miss for me. Yeah, Diamonds is rough. Live and Let Die is rough. Man with the Golden Gun is rough. And then Spy Love Me, really dig that flick. So it starts to pick up from there. Moonraker is a guilty pleasure, but it's still a pleasure. What else? Oh, we got a big Bond conversation going on down here. I got a reference for The Offense. Connery gives a fantastic performance, and I haven't seen that, so I got to check that out. What are your thoughts on Never Say Never Again? It's funny. It's Irvin Kershner, so right, that's got to be good. Dude that directed Eyes of Laura Mars, which I enjoy. The Empire Strikes Back. I saw it in the theaters. I saw it in '83, second run, and I had a hard time staying awake through it. And for some reason, that flick just seems interminably long. I know people say the same thing about Thunderball, the movie that it's adapted from. But it just seems so long. And I'm halfway through, and I always think, there's still got to be a bit with Kim Basinger standing in some atoll for 35 minutes with some horses or something like that. It just doesn't have a lot of drive for me. But I'm gonna watch it again soon because I got a bunch of laserdisc copies of it recently. It's got a killer theme song. Maybe not killer, but so I want to like it. Not hearing the Bond theme definitely. I don't know. It doesn't feel right seeing Connery in it and not having the Bond music. So that's always been a problem. But good cast, killer cast. And obviously it's the Thunderball story, so it worked once. It might as well work again. But it just, I don't know. It just seems kind of languid. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, CA Bus says LaserCon sounds awesome. So Peter, you owe me a T-shirt. I did my job. I did some promoting. Pierce Nightshade said, I still really want The Abyss and True Lies on Blu-ray. I was just talking about that, too, about how James Cameron pushed the envelope for Laserdisc and then left a lot of his movies behind. The Abyss came out on DVD in that special edition, clamshells, super edition, and it wasn't even anamorphically enhanced. It wasn't formatted for 16:9 TVs, which is crazy. I mean, it was early on in DVDs, kind of nascent stages then, so there was a lot of stuff like that back then that wasn't formatted for big TVs. But yeah, that's a real shame. Those movies, they should eventually go back to. They're probably going to orange and teal them up, and everyone's going to complain about them. I guarantee. But yeah, so that's a good reason. I'd love to get an interview with James Cameron because people misunderstood a lot of his discussions about pan and scan. He wrote a really cool essay about it that came with his pan and scan version of The Abyss on Laserdisc, and there's a really great interview with him in Widescreen Review, which is probably kicking around on the internet right now, where he really explains his shooting process, his thoughts about framing and and TVs and everything. And he was really, really disappointed in the quality of televisions in the early 90s. And so his kind of foray into pan and scan was because of that, because sound had, we were just on the cusp of putting 5.1 surround sound on Laserdisc. But he felt that sound had far surpassed the video capabilities. So, yeah, there was that going on. So it's kind of funny that a lot of his films, like The Abyss and True Lies, are only available on that older format. So you think he'd be going crazy because they're not available on Blu-ray. But it's probably just a case of time. I don't know if Van Lang still does DVDs or Blu-rays with him anymore, but it's probably scheduling and time and all that stuff. But it'd be cool. Nick was saying Cameron confirmed that The Abyss is coming to Blu-ray, so and that the theatrical cut is airing in HD on Starz right now. So that's pretty cool. James wrote in, how do you usually watch your LDs? On an older 4:3 TV or a modern 16:9? And I do both. I actually I have a a 4:3 CRT projection, like rear projection TV in this room. And so when I'm watching LDs up here, I'm watching it on that. And then in my bedroom, I've got an old Magnavox CRT Direct View TV, so I watch it on that. At work, I got a Direct View Sony Trinitron, so I watch it on that. And then in my main viewing room, I've got a Sony SXRD 1080p projector, so I do zoom the picture on that. And I do know some people that watch. It's a total can of worms, and I'm going to do a video about it. But I know people that do watch LD on HD TVs in the 4:3 mode. So essentially, it's window boxed. You have the black bars on the top and bottom that are actually part of the LD picture, and then the TV will place pillar boxes on the side so that you don't lose any resolution or something. But I zoom because ever since I was a kid, my dream was to have a big screen and everything. So the bigger the better, and if I have to take a hit for resolution, yeah, so be it, for sure. Let's see. Pierce Nightshade talked about, Arrow putting out Donnie Darko in the States. Yeah, and hoping Fox will add more rights. And that's pretty much what's going on right now is if the market is kind of dwindling, it's a case where we're hoping that the studios are going to start pushing out the rights and letting these other cool imprints distribute their films. So Universal and MGM have been giving a lot of stuff to Scream Factory, Shout Factory, and that'd be cool. Definitely way cool if Arrow could get some Fox stuff, man. I want an Arrow like Strange Days, like tomorrow. That would be cool. And Donnie Darko on Blu-ray would be great. I haven't seen that in a while, so. And I'm guessing hopefully it'll be the theatrical cut and the later director's cut as well. So John Jenkins says, my mom likes Yanni, so I'm well versed in his work. Nice. And then, Nick was talking about the Arrow UK doing the Phantasm box set. I'm totally down for that, too. That would be way cool. I'm still dinging through the freaking Hellraiser Scarlet box. That thing's a beast. So, Shadow Man was saying I prefer a clamshell single-sided player with top-notch comb filters, since that kind of player will be quite maintenance-free, so no draw loading. So, yeah. Clamshell single-sided player. It's an option. Pierce Nightshade to go to Half Price Books, only place near me that sells LDs. They sell them cheap. If you watch some of my videos from when I went down to Texas, I was bitching and moaning because I was super psyched to go back down there to Half Price Books and pick up some Laserdiscs. And the ones that we're finding in the Houston area didn't have any. They had like the area where you would put the LDs, but they weren't in there. So I actually picked up a lot from Vinyl Edge in Houston, which had a really good collection of LDs. So I can't complain because I got some cool stuff. I got Logan's Run, a Duran Duran disc, Goldfinger, one of the old ones, and some cool stuff like that. And John Jenkins, took me forever to find my CLD S201. It's been my warhorse for a few years. Funny you mention that. I'm actually using a CLD S201 to hold up my laptop because it wasn't quite high enough. I needed something to like push it up a little bit higher to get in frame. So why not just throw a CLD S201 under it? So it's right there. Nick was saying I hunted through every Goodwill for months to find an LD player and got 2 Buster players from eBay. Got mine ultimately from Craigslist. Yeah, Craigslist. I mean, when it hits, is amazing. I mean, I just got. Well, there was supposed to be 4 players, but it ended up being 3 players and a CD multi-disc player, which is the bane of your existence if you're a Goodwill hunter. Shout out to Goodwill Hunter if you're out there somewhere. If you're into those and LD players, you're going to see those CD multiplayers down the aisle and think, yes, it's a LD tray, and then come to find out, no, it's just a tray for 5 different CDs. But yeah, it is tough trying to find something at the thrift shops or whatever. So call around, maybe let them know if they will ever call you back. I know Christian Hanna mentioned that one time he would kind of go around to the thrift shops and pawn shops and let dudes know that he was into certain things, and they would actually call him up when it would come in. So you never know. Someone might have something kicking around in the back. I've seen that too, where people have LD collections and players, and they don't even put it out on the floor because they're like, yeah, nobody's into this, and they have maybe a off-site storage place or something that's actually kicking around there. So it definitely never hurts to ask if you're in a shop. Lars wrote, do you know any LD titles actually made it to print but never made a commercial release anyway? Oh, like late release stuff, like Bringing Out the Dead. Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff in, if you look in the LDDB, I can't believe I didn't mention that. The Laserdisc database is an amazing resource, and it has been for a long time. Before I even really started actively collecting LD titles again, I had joined up with the Laserdisc database and entered in all my titles so I could keep track of them, and occasionally that would keep me thinking about LDs, because I'd see the shops and what they had to sell, and I kept thinking, ooh, I need to get Johnny Mnemonic from Japan finally, which I did finally get, thanks to Kobos. But yeah, you can actually do a search by year there and see some of the stuff that was at least scheduled later on that came out. And there's a lot of stuff that did not come out but was announced. And yeah, I swear I've heard about some titles that there are like those rumors about, that some had actually gotten pressed but never made it out. So there might be some test pressings or just some like super rare ones out there. I know some people talk about the Limey, but not actually existing, or the Cell. But I'm pretty sure there are some people out there that own copies of the Limey and the Cell. But yeah, so you can always do a check for there and see like what got announced, and maybe there's some titles out there that actually got pressed. Maybe not. We'd probably find out about them by now. But and what else? Do you have any CEDs? No, I actually have not gotten into CEDs. Moikey, if he's still out there, is freaking out right now. CEDs, if you haven't seen them before, are those caddy-like things, and they're called laserdiscs all the time, even though there's no lasers involved. It's an actual needle reading a very grooved vinyl-esque kind of disc, and the disc is inside the caddy, so you put it in the player and take it out, and then the needle reads it. RCA put it out, also known as Selectavision, and so it's the bane of LD collectors a lot of times that you see laser discs. I've driven over an hour sometimes to get a lot of laser discs, only to find that it's a box of CDs, so I can understand the frustration. But no, yeah, so I don't collect them, but I do know there are some hardcore collectors. There's a guy not too far from me that collects the players, refurbs them, and yeah, there's still tons of them out there. I just saw at a flea market a huge Tupperware bin of CDs, in actually good shape. That's the thing. They kind of always look nasty because they've been sticking around someone's basement, like that grime, like feces stains on them, and they just always look gross because they've been treated so poorly. But yeah, it was cool. It was actually a case of like really nice condition CEDs. So never saw it again. Who knows where that guy is, but they're out there for sure. But yeah, I never got into collecting them. And likewise, there's a lot of other interesting formats like VHDs, which is like a Japanese kind of similar version, a caddy-based thing. And yeah, I never got into collecting Betamax or anything like that. But Nishintoki was saying, seen a couple LD players at Goodwill a few times, picked up the second player there. But yeah, you have to be patient and go. You have to go often too. That's the thing. Yeah, some of us just go every once in a while and find some stuff. Peter Biancardi mentioned he found tons of DTS discs that got dropped there. But yeah, you got to go. Peter is like rarest LD you own besides Bond, and yeah, obviously that's got to be the best. The rarest was The World Is Not Enough. Yeah, I would have thought it was Fight Club, but everybody seems to have Fight Club now. Like back in the day, like I couldn't get Fight Club, and so I thought that was going to be my big white whale for the longest time. And then I got it, and now everybody seems to have a copy of that sucker. So I can't really think of anything rare other than that. They have that feature on the Laserdisc database where you can search for unique films in your collection or pressings, and I have a couple of those, but they're not really rare. It's just that Polygram pressed like a bunch of different versions of the Basketball Diaries, and I've got one that somebody else doesn't have, but it's not really rare per se. The Keep LD is kind of rare, Dudes is kind of rare, but not rare like you can retire. So the ones that are commanding some serious dough now are the 6 Day and a lot of the other late release ones. But I'm only collecting late release titles that I really dig. Obviously I'm gonna get a James Bond one because I'm a James Bond fan, and Fight Club because I'm a huge Fight Club fan. But I'm not really gonna pick up a lot of other stuff because I can get them on DVD or whatever like that. So. And there's a lot of that stuff too. It's kind of weird for me to watch them on Laserdisc because just in the way that watching a mid-90s movie is awesome on LD, it would probably be kind of weird watching U571 on Laserdisc, because that is such like a DVD movie in my brain. Like, my brain has filed that in the DVD category, so it would just be kind of weird watching it. Like, it'd be something strange. Like, I feel like I'm cheating on my DVD watching it that way. Pierce was saying Thunderball is beautiful, has a fantastic vibe to it. Never Again is flat and looks way more dated. Yeah, it's true that Thunderballs, yeah, those kind of underwater sequences, they're just very dreamy, and the killer John Barry score. I mean, John Barry's score goes a long way, man. Totally makes those scenes. Cool stuff. Joe was saying, talking about Cameron's stuff shot Super 35 after Aliens, and yeah, that's that's that can of worms. We're talking about open mat and stuff like that. I made a big annoying post where I douched it up hardcore after the New Year, saying I was going to go at war against open mat because, you know, people use the phrase a little too loosely, and when the reality of the fact is, after a certain time period, most home video releases that were formatted for 4:3, even if they were shot without mats in 4:3, they're not transferred directly, and especially if there's special effects. Especially, a lot of special effects are hard matted at either like 1.66 to 1 or 1.85 to 1. So, and actually, I think it was Anthony on Laserdisc Forever has an actual 35mm print of Jurassic Park. And the rumor has it that if you actually screen that film and not mat it and just watch it in 4:3, when the CG shots show up, they'll be letterboxed on the actual film itself. So obviously, when you transfer that, you have to pan and scan. And the Super 35 films, they actually are pan and scanned. They're adjusted all the time. There's a couple of good YouTube videos out there. Yeah, the kind of misconception is that you just take the mats off and you're done, but they're tweaked often. The 2.35 to 1 versions are also tweaked often. There's some really good YouTube videos out there. There's one for T2 where you can see the images moving around, and it's not a case of you get the 2.35 to 1 version and you just take that top mat off and that bottom one off. No, it's the 4:3 one is in the middle, so the 2.35 one has got more information on the sides, and the 4:3 one's got sometimes more information on the top and bottom, but sometimes the 2.35 to 1 shifts up. So usually they have like a kind of common top line, but it moves around like crazy. If you watch the chase between the truck with the T-1000 in it and the Terminator with John Connor on the bike, everything is moving around at all times. So yeah, technically it's panned and scanned, which is why James Cameron called it his pan and scan director's cut. Chris Altman, was your most coveted vinyl record? Man, that's a tough one. Before I think I pointed that out. Chris, do I have it? I think it's filed away, but it's an old Metallica bootleg from Japan, live from Japan on the Justice tour. I love that thing, and there's a long story behind me trying to get it, so it took a lot of effort to get it. So that's probably up there. Got a lot of old cool like Exodus, like picture discs, that sort of stuff. Yeah, a lot of old. I've got the old Pantera. Nowadays all these alternate covers and stuff gets reissued and stuff. But I had like the original Pantera, Far Beyond Driven, with the alternate artwork that like when it first came out, stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's probably that Metallica thing. It's live at the where is it? The Yo-Yo something Olympic pool or something like that in Japan from '88 or '89 or something. Really, really cool stuff. It's the same CD I have. I got a bootleg from that shop that used to shop for me. Of course, it doesn't. Yeah, I don't even think this tells you which. No, it doesn't even tell you. But yeah, it was at the Olympic pool somewhere in Japan. But yeah, that's probably my favorite vinyl. And what else? Where did I leave off? Strange Days from Arrow sounds amazing. Twilight Time has a deal with Fox. Yeah, that's true. If Twilight Time did it too, that would be pretty cool. I'd be way in on that. Shadowman was talking about LD Player 850D and says it doesn't turn on. Yeah, there is an issue with Sony players with the power. Apparently, I've heard, one thing I heard is that it's actually better if you leave them plugged in all the time, so that there's some sort of current running through, that they're actually more potentially going to fail if you unplug them and just store them somewhere. I've heard the power supplies have a potential to crap out, and the other thing is that some of their caps or something will leak and damage the actual board. So I've heard that's an issue. So if it doesn't turn on, it's probably not worth digging into, because it could be one of those cases where the board is fully damaged. I have heard the 850D is actually a really nice player though when it's up and running. I've got the 800 and I love that thing. So yeah, and apparently when the power starts going, like the picture may go dim, something like that, get a little bit nastier, and then eventually it'll crap out on you. But yeah, it might be a rough situation if it's not powering on at all. That guy wrote, do you know that Johnny Cash made his own theme song to Thunderball? Yeah, I've got a really cool pile of James Bond alternate themes, deleted themes, and curiosities or whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool kind of alternate versions out there and things like that. There's even officially released, you can get Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which was going to be the Thunderball theme, and is actually scored as the theme a lot in John Barry's cues. But yeah, Johnny Cash had the Thunderball theme, and I've got it. It's a trip for sure. I'd sing it, but it's not. Yeah, it's probably not going to be good. Yeah, but yeah, it was a pretty cool little curiosity there, and alternate versions of. You Only Live Twice, and there's the Alice Cooper, the Man with the Golden Gun, which is a trip too. So yeah, it's cool. Pierce was asking, did you jump into Blu-ray or HD-DVD when they were first released? Not right away. I held off, and I was funny. I was actually siding with Blu-ray, not because I was super excited about the specs over HD DVD or something like that. In hindsight, that was, I guess, the better deal, because HD DVD has a bigger issue with rotting, especially with Warner Brothers discs, though apparently there's some Blu-rays out there that are bronzing and rotting too. But yeah, HD DVD has a big problem with unplayable discs. But I was gunning for Blu-ray to win because of the Sony connection and the fact that the James Bond catalog would probably come out on it. And so I'm such a James Bond fan that I was really hoping for a format to win, because I could get James Bond films in high def. So I held off a little bit. I waited for the kind of market to simmer, and plus I didn't have an HD display yet. I know a lot of people had picked up TVs that were widescreen, and I bought my 4:3 Sony TV like right before the time when people started to buy 16:9 TVs. So technically that was a foolish investment. I should have held off a year or two, and then I would have been like ready for some 16:9 content. So I wasn't. So I picked up my first projector, a Sony Sennheiser, what was it, HS51. It was a 720p projector in 2004 maybe. So when I got that, then I was like, all right, cool. And then my wife picked me up PlayStation and a couple Blu-rays and stuff like that. So it took me a little bit, not too long. Did you buy all the first releases of the Bond films on Blu-ray? Yes, I am a complete idiot. That was the thing. I was so excited. I ran out of the gate, and I wish I could show them to you, but they're in another room. And they decided to release the Bond films in sets of 3, out of order. Really annoying. And then they were in these weird little, like they had a clear case, like slipcover that slid off. And then they had like a book inside another slipcover. And then the book had a couple pages, and it had the DVDs held on by a little cheesy piece of like foam, a little circle foam. And then, yeah, the discs would fall off when the foam piece would slide off and the glue would give up. I just had to like wipe a bunch of glue snot off the back of, I think, my GoldenEye disc because of that. So I took them all out of there, and I bought Viva Elite cases and then put them all in there. So yeah, so they released 3 discs, and then when they first came out, they had 2 batches of 3, and they were stupid expensive. So I went to Magnolia, and some of the Magnolia home theaters, which is the kind of like high-end subset of Best Buy. I went in there, and if you went in and they did a demo, they would give you a coupon for like $10 or $15 off a Blu-ray. And so I went, and I did the demo, and I'm like, yeah, sweet, DefTex, I'd love to buy some of these, but I'm a poor MFer. See you later. And I ran up front, got myself some Blu-ray action. So yeah, I grabbed those. Then the third one had, I forgot which titles I had in there, so I picked that up. And then they released a 3-disc set in a totally different packaging at Best Buy only, like The Man with the Golden Gun and Quantum of Solace in 2008. So I bought that 4th set of 3, and then the whole thing stalled when the MGM problems came about, and it looked like very, finicky with the whole new, series, whether or not another film was going to get made and all that stuff, and it just got weird, and then it all died, and then everything came back with that beautiful Bond 50 set. So I wish I could have gotten some action from there, but sadly I was a little too jumped the gun, and I got those crappy sets that don't look anything alike. And then when I bought all the other discs, they sat in little elite cases, and so yeah, now they're all streamlined, and I just have those things stashed somewhere. Right, what else is going on here? Oh yeah, so I forgot, I had a couple questions that people had written in earlier that I totally did not read because I'm a knucklehead. So let me get those up and running. If anybody's still around, I'm going to hang out for like another 20 minutes or so, so thanks for sticking around. Oh yeah, Lee Dark Paradox asked when I'll be reviewing the Dune Laserdisc box set. I am hoping to get a copy of that. I need to pick up Dune and yeah, get that from the Kobos and get that over here. It's got, the Alan Smithy TV cut. It's got the theatrical cut. And, I don't need it because I've got so many versions on DVD and Blu-ray, etc. I should do like a Dune, collection video, but I need it. That thing is awesome. What else? Especially like that Close Encounters LD. Can you tell me how to spot rot on versions? Oh yeah, because I was showing off, going out to Farley's Retro Fan Cave. Really cool channel too. The Close Encounters was a Columbia release, and they used to do a lot of rotted releases because they used Sony's pressing plant in Terre Haute, Indiana, and it was called DADC USA. There was an Austrian version in Austria that printed really good Laserdiscs, but unfortunately, you have to look at the mint marks to find out if you have a good copy. If they have 2 different pressings, but if it's a case like where DADC USA pressed them all, unfortunately, there's really no way to tell if they're rotted unless you actually put it in the player, spin it up, and see if it's got speckling or not. It's hit or miss. There are some good DADC USA pressings out there. I've got okay ones of Demolition Man and Gattaca, thanks to Peter, and Eraser, so they do exist. But Ben signing off. Take it easy, man. Thanks for hanging out. Love Dune. Oh yeah, Dune is where it's at. Mookie also was a Dune fan. I know that. But yeah, so there are some releases from PDO UK that you can actually see physical rotting on the disc, and there's some. Shadow Man's watching some Top Gear. Sick, love it. I've also been watching. In fact, I should be watching that right now. Grand Tour, the new one on Amazon. So, Lars is signing off. Peace out, Lars. And so 3M also had some discs that had some visible rotting, but yeah, usually you have to actually put them in and hit play to find out the rot. Mike Daig wanted to know if I was updating my TV player, surround sound, etc., what would I get as a replacement for my current setup? And I'd probably, I'm thinking about getting some more speakers, and I'd probably either go Craigslist and get some Definitive Technology speakers that I wanted to get back in the day that you can probably get cheaper, probably some like BP10s. I don't really need powered subs inside my tower, but I like towers. I don't know. I could get away with going satellites all around or bookshelf speakers, but it loves me some towers. So I'd probably get some like BP10s and then some, the rest of a DefTech kit. or go with the newer ELAC Unifies and try those out. So I know I'd probably need to get some more power. I love my Rotel AVR. I'm probably going to stick with Rotel forever. I mean, I just love that thing. The sound is just awesome and so warm and nice on it. I'm sure that they turned a corner at some point, and maybe some of the newer stuff, maybe not so much. But so I'd love to get either an external amp, because I've got all the outputs and everything on my Rotel, so I could use the receiver as a pre-pro and then just build up an amp. So I'd love to get an amp and then maybe eventually get a new pre-pro, because my old Rotel came out when they started implementing DTS, and it doesn't have a lot of great DTS management for setting up your speakers for bass management. So yeah, so that'd probably be it. I'd probably get newer Rotel gear, much beefier amplification, get some DefTech speakers, or maybe those newer ELACs. And video, I'm going to stick with SXRD projectors. I'd probably just get a newer Sony 4K. So that would be that. Let's see what else. Pool asked, what's your daytime job? I actually am a cube hermit in a place, a Dutch multinational company that has branches in everything from construction to dildo manufacturing. I can't really say if that's true or not. But anyways, I work for the environmental branch, and we work mostly with retail petroleum sites. So if you go to pump some gas and you have a freak gasoline fight accident, then some guy's got to call up the Department of Environmental Protection and open up a spill case number, and then my company rolls in and says, "Hey, it's time to go check it out and seeing how much of an impact that made on the environment." And so I'm more of the office side. I'm not out there plunging the monitoring wells and stuff. So I do all the reporting and stuff like that, and package them and get them out, and yeah, so that's it. So during the day, I've got either YouTube going on in the background, or I got some metal on my headphones, and then just powering through all those things and putting those reports together, and then I go and watch a movie during lunch break, and then get back at it. So it's a cool place. It's fun to work. Like, they don't mind if I run off and do a radio show in the middle of the day and come back. So very cool. Oh yeah, Pierce is taking off too, I think. So thanks for writing in. The Wolf asked, got any porn on Laserdisc? I haven't tripped across it. I know there is a decent amount out there, because I think Image used to press a lot of porn, and I remember seeing a porn section at Laser Craze. And I know some people catch lots on Laserdisc sometimes and end up getting a lot of porn in it, and they can't get rid of it or whatever. But if you need some, I think there's some guys on Laserdisc Forever that have some still. So Shadowman says he's getting some Japanese releases tomorrow. So cool, man. Hope you enjoy those. Look forward to the video when you get it. Oh, Frolic showed up. What's going on, buddy? John Frolic has a channel, if you have not seen. He has a Metrocast ton of Laserdiscs, and has a lot of great update videos, so you can see what he's got. So yeah, he's got some killer stuff, and if you like horror films and stuff like that too, check out his channel. And yeah, he showed up, so cheers, buddy. How are you? Sorry you missed the first hour, but obviously this thing should be up and running by the time I'm done. And there'll be a version for you to watch after the fact. What else? If Culturedog were available at Wiener Schnitzel, what would its toppings be? It would be, what was it? Taquitos would be the tag. Taquitos and caramel. What is your favorite dog-related film not marketed to children? Yeah, maybe Cujo. Probably Cujo. And what's your favorite flavor of yogurt? I don't like yogurt. Strangely. I don't know. So, not yogurt. So I'm more of an ice cream guy. And what's your favorite breed of dog? Well, it's got to be a Welsh Corgi, because that's Jack Russell Terrier, because I used to watch Wishbone. And Welsh Corgi, because Iron, man. Iron is the shit. So that would be that. What else? Piplup12 asked, what is the best Laserdisc you own quality-wise and by personal preference, by region? It's tough to beat some of those later, like Blu-Ray pressings, those Super NTSCs. If you get a Pioneer USA pressing of The Fifth Element that isn't rotted, the US version, looks pretty much like a DVD. That's amazing. The Abyss, the box set I have, the old one, with just the Perlogic surround, looks really nice upscaled. Like, I watched that on a projector, and that looks really cinematic. when zoomed in. So it's just, a really good transfer. A lot of the late stuff, looked really good. Speaking of Cameron, when I got Titanic on Laserdisc from Ken Crane's, I was just amazed at how good it looked because it was so late in the party. And I was like blown away at the crispness of it. And I was thinking, they really are pushing the envelope on the format. And they're making the format better than they ever had. So it was really a shame that was when all the coverage was hitting for DVD, and DVD was taking all the credit for it. So, but yeah, and yeah, the Japanese disc, The World Is Not Enough, is pretty stunning looking. That's amazing stuff. There's a lot of really good Japanese pressings out there. There's this kind of rule of thumb that they don't have any rot, but a lot of Pony Canyon releases are rotted, and every kind of pressing factory seemed to have a rot problem at a time. So yeah, there's no guarantee that a Japanese disc won't be rotted, but I do like that their packaging was a lot sturdier too, so that helps. But Hong Kong discs, I don't have any pressings I think that are really killer. It's just mostly I just want the content on them. So yeah, I love collecting HK flicks. Again, some of those have rot too. I've got like Funk Sayak, a little bit of rot, but yeah, I've got some of the Bond films from HK, and like the transfers aren't any better per se than the ones over here. But yeah, and I don't have any PAL or European discs, sadly. Joe just asked, do you have any of the squeeze discs? And I have one. If you haven't seen them, I was talking before about how DVD came in with anamorphic discs and really, paved the way for people to embrace 16:9 TVs because, there was content that was manufactured for them, so you had more resolution because it would squeeze the image on a 4:3 and your TV would unsqueeze it. And they tried it. They were really pimping, like Toshiba and a couple places were pimping widescreen TVs here in the state. I'd love to get a widescreen 16:9, like old direct-view CRT TV. That would be pretty sick. But I don't have one. Toshiba had some giveaway discs, and in the States, those were the only squeeze discs that came out here. There was Free Willy, there was The Fugitive, and Unforgiven, and I always forget what the fourth one was. But it's usually something I'm not excited about, but I can't remember. Like Grumpy Old Men. But over in Japan, they actually marketed them. So there was like, Basic Instinct, I think Cutthroat Island might have had one, Terminator 2, etc., and mixed quality, and then they had a decent amount, but nobody over here really knew about them except for the people that had picked up those old Toshiba sets. But yeah, I did get a copy of the Unforgiven squeeze disc, so I definitely need to do a video talking about that at some point. John asked me if I was going region free. Now the Arrow announced the Phantasm box set. I would love to. I've been on the cusp of going region free for a while. Like I said, when I first got into DVD, I bought a JVC region free player after I had bought an Oppo player. Not an Oppo. What was the Oppo of the day? It was Apex. Apex was the player that hit the market crazy. It was this Chinese player. It really wasn't good. It was. But you could hack it from an interface. Like, you could just hack it with your remote. And so, yeah, I hacked that sucker, and it didn't look really good. But I was able to import discs and watch them on it. And it did PAL conversion, too, which was sick. So I was able to get, like, the Visitors and all this stuff and do it. And then eventually I bought a JVC that did the job much better. And I was way into it. I was way into importing discs. But I have not gone region-free with Blu-ray yet. I will at some point, for sure. But yeah, they haven't twisted my arm yet, but I will be getting there eventually. The Wolf asked favorite Criterion Laserdisc, and it's got to be the 7 Criterion box set. Mostly for the amount of dumps I took in my pants when I saw that announcement in either Widescreen Review or Home Theater magazine. And that film, I was so in love with 7 when it came out. And at the time, you couldn't count on a day and date Criterion with like a regular release. You could count on a regular release, and then maybe in the future a Criterion box. So it was like something really freaking special, or a Michael Bay movie, if it was coming out as a Criterion set at the same time as the regular video release. So I mean, that was like my favorite movie at the time. I was apeshit over it. And then the fact that Criterion was coming out with a $125 box set the day the movie dropped on home video, I freaked out. I loved it. The close second would be Brazil. That box set is amazing. It was like a $150 box set. It was much delayed. It was going to be smaller and cheaper, and then they pushed it back and raised the price because they added another disc to it. So yeah, that was amazing too. But yeah, Seven's always got to be number one. And I do love the Bond discs for their historical nature because of the commentary tracks and all that. But oh yeah, Blu-ray isn't as bad on region locking as DVDs is nice. Yeah, I know. There were more. And then there was more regions too on DVD. There was 5 regions, so it was a pain in the ass. And Japan was region 2, so I had to have a region free player to get Japanese discs, that sort of thing. So yeah, unless you imported from Canada, so that was region 1. But yeah, so the Blu-ray isn't as restrictive, and yeah, there are. I mean, I think they're a little bit more into region locking now than when it first came out, but I definitely will get one. What else? Have you considered recording audio commentaries for movies and posting them on your channel, like with Bond films? Yeah, I actually have done some audio commentaries, a couple randomly. Back before I had a YouTube channel, I was a total idiot. I should have started the YouTube channel way back in the day. But I was just so focused on radio and everything like that. But there was a couple that I put up on archive.org. One for La Dolce Vita, and then one I did, it was pretty wild and just goofy, with my radio show co-host Kevin for Fight Club. So I think they're still up there. And at the time, that was like when you would kind of use like one of those sync programs like Riff Tracks or whatever to do it. But and then yeah, now with YouTube, that'd be pretty cool, because I know like Oliver Harper does some, and some of the other guys I watch will do some full commentary tracks, and it'd be fun to do them for like the Bond films and stuff like that. So that's definitely not ruled out, and I will make that happen at some point. And what else? Oh, Freddie had a bunch of questions too. Where can people check out your music, Sever the Drama? And where can it be purchased? Hopefully a few more places soon, but you can get, I'm in a band, I play bass. They're called Sever the Drama, my band. We're working on a new album now. We've got 2 albums out already. The first album, Vested Interest, you can get it from the band itself. Just contact severthedrama@yahoo.com, or hopefully we're going to get it back online shortly. But the second album, Chasing Shadows, you can, if you want to be cheap, you can listen to it on Spotify. And if you want to actually purchase it, you can get a ton of different ways, which is through Amazon. You can get it physical. They will actually do like a press on demand, which is weird. Peter Mancarty's got like the only one I think I know of where they press it on demand, and it's got different like artwork and stuff like that. Or you can buy the digital copy there. You can get it digitally through iTunes, or cdbaby.com has like the actual real pressed versions and digital copies on there as well, and pretty much any other kind of vendor like that. And then yeah, same thing, we've got copies you can get from the band too. If you send in the email to severthedrama@yahoo.com, we'll sign a copy if you want to get it from us directly. So yeah, thanks for asking that. And can you explain more about how you have some first runs of the original TMNT comics? Oh yes, I wish I had them with me. Oh man, it's almost 10 o'clock. All right, I'll go a couple minutes late because I still got a couple more questions. But yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when that first dropped, like the original comics, it was when I was in my kind of comic collecting heyday. Star Wars really got me into comics. I was huge into Star Wars, and my dad was not into church. And so when my mom would drag me to church, my dad would be like, F this noise, I'm out of here. He was into comics and CB radio, and in fact, there was a great time he was on a CB in the church parking lot, and it interfered with it was like something out of a Naked Gun movie. It interfered with radio frequencies, and you could hear my dad 10-4 good buddying it up over the overheads in the church. But yeah, so he would go and pick up comics for himself because he was pretty much a man-child, and then he would buy some Star Wars ones for me. So I got hooked on those, and then by default on Marvel Comics. And then really got into them after that, and then would go, when my stepfather came into the picture, he was a major comics fan and was into a place called The Bookie in East Hartford, Connecticut, and I would go just to get like back issues of Star Wars comics, and then kind of became exposed to all the other stuff out there, and then I started borrowing all my dad's, Spider-Mans and, all those late 70s things like Luke Cage, Nova, etc. And then that led into the kind of indie comics boom in the early 80s, and that's when we were subscribing to Comics Buyer's Guide, etc. So we were like fertile and ready for all this stuff, like, Frank Miller's Ronin was blowing my mind at the time, and then, after that came the Turtles, which was kind of, spoofing the Frank Miller comics to an extent. And so we were there at ground zero when the Turtles comics came in. They were not that far from us, from Northampton, Massachusetts area. So Eastman and Laird would roll into town and do signings at the Bookie. I still have. I wish I'd brought them out, but I've still got like actual unused covers that were unstapled for a lot of the early Turtles that they signed. So yeah, I had all the Turtles. My dad still got his. I should have brought him over so I can show him. Maybe I'll show him in another video. But yeah, I had all those old Turtles mags, and I got them signed. And then I made the poor choice of selling all those old first printings when I joined a band, and we wanted to make a demo tape. My band was called Near Dark. It used to be called Lesson Zero, and then before that was called The Lost Boys. So we're either into vampires or Jamie Gertz movies, or both. And we wanted to make a like Metallica like demo tape. I should put it on archive.org because I have it. And my uncle was a producer of sorts. He had a 3-track Tascam, and he was going to produce our album. But he still wanted to charge like a lot for it. And we didn't have any money because this was like 92 or something. I was just getting out of high school. I had no money. I had no job at the time. I think I'd quit ShopRite. So I went down to a comic shop down the street. And this was when TMNT like started to actually turn into something to like kids, because the cartoons had actually started happening. So it wasn't just like something for like hardcore comics fans. And then Archie Comics started putting out like their own like version of the Turtles TV series. So I remember rolling into this shop, and this woman busted my balls. I was going to sell my comics, and she was showing in the price guide, Turtles #2, it's worth $2. And I'm like, no, look at the Mirage Turtles and look at the zeros after. Those are these. And I probably got like $80 to $100 for a full box, long box with all those Turtles. And though the earlier ones were oversized, you couldn't fit them in a long box, so I had those like separately. So I'm a total idiot. I'd picked them all, and back in the day, you were, though they got hot fast. Like there was a regular period where we had conventions all the time. They used to have them at the Elks Club, at the Elks Hall. Then there was a big convention called Kineticon that was like a creation convention kind of thing, and that would happen like yearly. But then every quarter or so, or every other month, there was like a smaller, small town kind of dirty convention that would come, and we would go to that one, and you could see quickly, like one convention, you're like, oh, this Turtles comic, that looks fun, and then within a few of those, they were going for a ton of money. So it heated up fast. So I mean, I really could have easily missed that mark, but yeah, it was pretty fun. And then are there any, when will you set up a Patreon? I've been thinking about it. I haven't really monetized any of my stuff, and I should really get that going. I don't know. It turned me off a lot of times seeing people that were like just getting up and running, and they'd be like, like and subscribe and do this and do that and give me all your money and do this. And I was like, I don't know. I just really wanted to build a cool place to hang out first before doing anything like that. And then if anybody was, really interested in getting involved in the Patreon or something, that'd be cool. I just wanted to have it happen organically, but yeah, I would totally be down for that, so maybe I have to make that happen. Are there any special features, documentaries on film or music that you've watched more than a dozen times that you recommend to others? And I know, I'm trying to think of some great docs that I've watched like a billion times, like that were like from the ancient, like Laserdisc era. There's some great stuff on the Children of Men DVD that I've watched a lot. In fact, my band sampled some of that stuff for some of the kind of ambient bits on our album. That's fascinating. And I know the Jaws box set, the Jaws Laserdisc, crazy documentary about the creation of Jaws. It's amazing, and it's still, like, it's always truncated when it's on DVD or Blu-ray or something. So I think maybe the full version's finally out now, but yeah, that thing was killer. Watch that. So, like, every time we watch Jaws, we have to watch that documentary right after. So I have to drag out the Laserdisc and watch that. And I know there's some others that are, like, really glaring, like, omissions that I'm going to kill myself later for forgetting about. But yeah, those in particular jump out at me. Can we expect more from your history of lasers? Yeah, the Laserdisc Essential series is my biggest regret for the channel, that I never got the rest of those up and running. I mean, they're ready. I mean, they're scheduled, they're structured, they're outlined, etc. I just have to film them, and they just take a lot more effort and work to do them. So before I'm done with my vacation this week, I'm going to get some audio recorded for part 2, which I've shot pieces of part 2 multiple times over the past couple of years. And so I apologize profusely, because I actually want to see those videos. That's like one of the series of videos that I wanted to make, because they're not out there, like a real in-depth series on Laserdisc. So I want to make them so I can watch them. And so hopefully they'll be coming soon. Do you assume that Blu-ray will be the last physical media to come out? And if not, what do you think will be out there? It's possible. I mean, there's really not much of an impetus to do much more past 4K, and I don't know if it's going to be the last optical disc. Physical media will maybe go into a niche format. So I mean, it's possible, if it does go into a niche format, that there will be a new niche variant. But who knows? We'll see what shakes down, or if it'll just go all digital after that. But and what are zombie bees? I can't tell you what zombie bees are, man. I'd have to kill you, because that's some serious secret knowledge. What else? What movie do you have on LD that has the most discs? Trying to think. Well, probably the 9 discs in the Star Wars Definitive Collection. That's probably the biggest one. I got a couple others that are like the Brazil box set. That's a beast. That's got to be like at least 6, I think. So that's close. That's a monster. Oh, of course, I left it downstairs, otherwise I'd show it to you. And the Tex Avery box set, which I sold, that's one of the ones that's interesting, because it's got too many discs for the actual size of the box. So all the boxes tend to kind of rip open and splay at the edges, sadly. So yeah, I used to hate some box sets, because they, like the old MGM box sets and everything like that, the covers would always want to come off, and they're just so ill-fitting and like crappy. But anyways, so yeah, probably like Star Wars and the 2 Star Wars sets, and Brazil. One of those guys must have the most discs. And what else? I'm enamored with Blade Runner and all its versions. Do you have any of the Laserdisc versions? I've got 3 different Criterions. I got the CLV Criterion, and I've got 2 different pressings of the CAV Criterion set. I got a 3M one and I think Pioneer USA one. I've got a couple different copies of the Director's Cut, which was the one I used to watch the most all the time. And I really do want to get into collecting every kind of NTSC pressing. If you want to see what they look like, though, check out my man John Froelich. He's got, I think, all of them. I think he's got all the Japanese ones, and he's got the old US Pan and Scan one. So pretty cool. John Froelich, being from the Boston area, how big of a Boondock Saints fan are you? It's not only Boston, but the director of Boondock Saints is from Hartford, Connecticut. So, in fact, there's a killer documentary about him and how batshit crazy he is, and and how Boondock Saints went to his head. Really fun movie. I almost wanted to hate it at first because of how hot it was and how many people I knew were talking about it. And in that kind of post-Quentin Tarantino world, there was a lot of fake hype about films that I ended up, was it like Love in a 45 and all this stuff, that I'd read all this hyperbole on the boxes, and then I'd check them out and be like, not really that great. So I was prepared to be disappointed, but Boondock Saints is just a lot of fun. I still have not seen the sequel, though. So sadly. But yeah, there's a guy that comes to, he's in another band called My Hamartia, and he comes to a lot of my band shows, and he's always got a Boondock Saints shirt on every time he comes out. Killer cast. I mean, everybody in that movie's awesome. It's just a lot of fun. And my wife is a huge Boondock Saints fan. Do you have a favorite Friday the 13th movie? I do. I do indeed. My favorite by far, there's a close second. My favorite by far is Part 3. Freaking love Part 3. I love everything about it. I love Shelley. Shelley's the coolest character. I love the characters in it. I love the mean punks. I love the fact that Jason wears a mask for the first, the hockey mask for the first time. 3 is just this awesome mix of, the 3D cheese, and just characters that were fun, like more fun for me for the first time in a Friday. They stuck out more than the characters in the previous films for me. The first 2 movies, I was more watching for Tom Savini gore, that sort of stuff. But 3, like really, I just had a blast with it. And then Part 4 after that, had a lot of juju in there. Corey, man, kicking ass, and yeah, those 2 are the strongest in the series for me. Right. What else? Oh, Astro Chica just tuned in. Cheers. Wanted to know general feelings about the current state of the movie industry, both blockbusters and indies, and favorite flicks of 2016. It's weird. You think you can kind of pinpoint where it's going. It looked pretty grim there for a period, but people still come out and check things out. Blockbusters have been weird since that period when the weekend smashes started, and then I do miss word of mouth. I do miss things being able to build organically. Like a hit used to be a hit because it hung out for like a summer or something like that. And in the early 2000s, when you started to get things that were, your Tomb Raiders and stuff that were considered a major success only because they did okay on that first weekend, and then nobody cared anymore. It kind of created that environment where quality could take a backseat as long as you made that opening splash. It didn't really matter if the film was good and got good word of mouth and stuck around, as long as you made that opening weekend bank. So it curated that environment, and it hasn't been all crap since then, but but it paved the way for that. I think there's a lot of rose-colored glasses looking back. There was a period in the early 2000s when I was always arguing with people online because there was this weird kind of misconception that every single movie in the early 80s was of Raiders of the Lost Ark quality. And I was kind of pointing out that, no, you remember Raiders of the Lost Ark because that was a freaking awesome movie. Not every movie that came out then was that good. There was a couple of years that were killer years, but then there was killer years. Like 2006 was a good year in cinema for me. So yeah, I think it just kind of ebbs and flows. Indie stuff, as I was just talking about, I don't hear as much buzz about indie stuff until it rocks my world, which is cool. I'm actually cool with not knowing ahead what indie stuff is coming down the pike. And that ebbs and flows too. There's a lot of coming of age stuff that gets boring as hell, or some guy writing. There was a lot of guys in the film industry in the 90s, kind of indie flicks and that sort of stuff. So that wasn't that interesting. But then I think both blockbusters and indies ebb and flow in the same way, that something really killer will show up, change everybody's mindset for a while, and then cause everybody to kind of run after it, chasing its tails for a bit. But The Witch blew my freaking mind last year, so that one, I didn't really see that coming, and it did. And so that was my favorite flick of 2016 by far. And I mean, I loved all the Marvel comic stuff. I had a good time with that. And The Witch was just where it was at for me. I was into Conjuring 2. That was good too. And then a big pile of them that I'm totally forgetting because I'm a goofball and I forgot to bring my list. But talking about the Tex Avery box set. I probably shouldn't have sold it because it hasn't come out on Blu-ray yet. It's a really nice set, but maybe I'll get. I think John Frolick's got one sealed not too long ago, so there's still some really nice copies out there. That guy wrote, "Do you like Big Trouble in Little China?" No, I don't like Big Trouble in Little China, but I do love Big Trouble in Little China. And if I had to go to a desert island, damn well Big Trouble in Little China would be coming with me. Love it. Absolutely. And I would, If I had to get a tattoo, I'd get a Jack Burton tattoo. Uh, it's just one of my all-time favorite films. Saw it in the theater in 1986 and fell in love with it. And that was one of those movies I taped off a cable and watched nonstop. Like Lost Boys. We were just talking about Lost Boys tonight on Laserdisc Forever. Lost Boys and Big Trouble in Little China, Buckaroo Banzai, all those flicks. Just watched them all the time. And yeah, I have the widescreen on Laserdisc. Love it. I actually don't have the Blu-ray for some reason, but I have the original double disc DVD that came out with all the special features, which was really cool. And I love that there's a Big Trouble in Little China fan base because it's such an awesome flick. And I'm lucky enough to see it when it came to the cinema for that Cinema Classics series that shows digital prints at the cinema. So I saw it with a crowd again not too long ago. So that was way cool being able to see it in the movie theaters again. What do you think is the most obscure thing you have on Laserdisc? Yeah, I was kind of thinking about like the rarest, but rarest and most obscure is probably different. So yeah, I mean, there's some obscure things, like I've got that, some training videos, some Pioneer training videos, like the tuning fork one I just got recently is pretty obscure. And then, there's some weird little like demo discs and things like that. But as far as like the States or whatever, like probably the most obscure disc I have is Dunderklumpen, which is a like a kind of Pete's Dragon-esque Swedish kids fantasy movie that mixes live action with animation. So yeah, I don't think if you said Dunderklumpen on the streets in the States, anybody would know what you were talking about. Which I do owe a Spotlight review, like going back 2 years on that sucker. Yeah, Comic Crack said, which was favorite of last year too. Any video games you're currently playing? I am so freaking lame on my games. I just never have time to play them. So and then I've always been really, really patient. So I'll wait for those like greatest hits ones to come out. So it's a rare occasion that I have to run out on and get something today it comes out. I did that with Rock Band 2 and a couple things because I play tested Rock Band 2, so I was like, I gotta get it the day it comes out. But yeah, there's nothing really like that's current because I'm so behind the curve because I don't even have a PS4 yet, so I can't play the new Mirror's Edge, which would be a game I'd have right now, and a few other things. But I still haven't picked up BioShock Infinite yet, which I know I'm going to love. So, yeah, so I'm just kind of playing whatever I happen to like pop in, like whenever I want to like blow off some steam or something like that. So, yeah, it's funny. Some of the crappy games like stick with me. Like, if I need to blow off some steam, sometimes I'll put in John Woo's Stranglehold from like 18 years ago and just bounce off walls for an hour. Just have a blast with it. So yeah, so I'm totally out of the loop, and which isn't good in YouTube land because in YouTube, video games is pretty much it's it. It just rules the tube. Maybe some Blu-ray content secondary, but yeah, that's what you're expected to talk about really. For like PC games, the last thing I played was Gone Home, probably because of the Laserdisc connection, which was a really, really interesting game. But it's more of a slightly interactive story than it is, a game. I guess you could solve a couple puzzles or something like that, but you're just kind of along for the ride on that. But yeah, so yeah, sadly, nothing like really new or current or super interesting. But Nick was saying I got the Big Trouble in Little China Blu-ray a year ago and sold off the 2-disc set. Yeah, killer flick. And let me see if I have any more questions on here. I'll have to sign off soon and get to getting. Got a bunch of other editing I'm going to do tonight and all that stuff. But I think that is it for the questions that were written in. Well, yeah, thanks for everybody for writing. It was cool seeing some of the guys that I hadn't seen in a while, too. CAV or Bust has some really cool update videos going back a couple of years, so check those out. And I give shout-outs to Zarin Isaac and Cessna Ace. Christian Hanna Horror, check out his channel. He has a lot of Laserdisc stuff, but just horror-related stuff outside, and collects Blu-rays and DVDs and what have you and stuff. Oral Knots is probably my favorite YouTube channel. Those guys are from New York, and they're in the advertising industry, or one of them just quit. And they do a lot of Star Wars parody videos, and sort of kind of like Bad Lip Reading, but better in a way than Bad Lip Reading because they're not really as focused on the lips matching exactly as they are on writing their own bizarre alternate storyline. Intricate, variant. Think like if you love like Venture Brothers, like the amount of thought they put into these crazy mythologies. There's an alternate Star Wars in which the Jedi are all arrogant smackheads that are into dancing, and they're all completely horrible individuals. The rebels are just like party freaks. They just want to get it on and have a good time. And then the Empire is like a big family-friendly entertainment industry, like a kind of like Walmart meets Disney thing. The Death Star is a giant laser tag emporium called Laser Moon, etc. And then one of the biggest parts of the series is C-3PO is a guy named Creepio, who is a sociopathic killer robot who is always up to some sort of bizarre shenanigans. So their series is turned into... In fact, if you hate the prequels, watch theirs, because you'll end up appreciating the prequels with their storyline. So yeah, mega shout-outs to Oral Knots. Love those guys. Actually, I don't see a lot of people talking about Upchuckaroo. He's got a cool channel. He's a guy out in California, and he picks up a lot of really cool import Blu-rays, if you like import Blu-rays too, and LDs. He goes down to Amoeba Records a lot and gets a lot of stuff. And he's hooked me up with some really cool discs. And yeah, I was going to give shout-outs to 4K Cinema HD, and I tripped across him early on in the chat, so that was way cool that he's out there. I haven't seen anything from Saphiro 355 in a while. I used to watch Karate Popcorn. I haven't seen much from her lately. My boy Adam Pestridge, who's on Lasers Forever, he's got a channel. I haven't seen much new from him on YouTube, but he did a lot of great Star Wars videos on there. Shout outs to Leroy Green 85. Haven't seen him in a while. Either Charlie Spooner. I kind of have like, I don't want to say sister channel, but my Brothers from Another Mother, Maizona Otaku, is a great channel, all anime release, and those guys put in so much effort, because they're not just like, me talking head dude just yapping about whatever comes to mind, but they like have structured, content, hour-long episodes about a certain aspect of anime history, and those guys, are way cool. What else? What else do I watch all the time? I gave shout-outs to Darth Boy before. Goodwill Hunter. He's a Connecticut guy, but he's down south now. Genre Online, Mark, who does that, has a lot of really good reviews, and he's another Laserdisc fan from back in the 90s. He used to be part of the media back then, and would write about Laserdisc back when I was buying them. The Lock. I gotta give a shout out to The Lock. Legends of Cherry Hill is a great channel. He's got some killer post-production skills as well. Really, really high-quality videos just talking about nostalgia and cool toys from the 80s and videos, etc. So I love that channel. Kabazuchi Boom 1, Alex from Lasers Forever has got a lot of update videos. If you go back and watch all his old update videos, he's got a ton of Laserdisc content. And Ravens Film Productions, another great channel, just got connected with recently. Oliver Harper, if you haven't seen his stuff, he does a lot of commentary tracks and stuff like that too for films. I haven't seen anything from Shagrat65 in a while, but he is an insane Blu-ray DVD collector and like cool obscure flicks, like way cool stuff. Steve Vincent Furness, really cool guy down Virginia Way, a Laserdisc collector, film noir expert, Blu-ray collector. I also watch the Sgt. Pepper's 13 a lot. He focuses more on LPs for the most part, but I think it's from New York, and he's got some LDs too. And it's funny, I don't watch a lot of the big guns, sadly, like a couple of them, like Zaran Izrak, obviously. I watch Wasting Money 1, because they used to do some Laserdisc content way back in the day. Those guys are just fun to kind of watch them evolve and grow up. Surround Sound Freak 13, he's got a killer collection too. Watch his stuff. And OKG 420's got a lot of Laserdisc content you can kind of check out. I think he's from Texas. And Laser Rot from Oregon. He's been kind of chill on titles lately, but yeah, I'm just always psyched when there's some new Laserdisc content out there. So I'm always looking for some new channels. And some other Blu-ray people. Like lately I've been watching Let's Go Random. She's got some cool like updates and stuff like that. And I just trip across things sometimes and then subscribe, and then I stick with them forever. But it's tough, trying to put out content all the time. And if you're into LD, eventually you either get them all or there's no more content. So luckily I only have like about 500, 600 titles right now, so I can still keep going for some time. But the Wolf is said, what is your most treasured Laserdisc? And it's tough. It's, man, it's probably like all of my Japanese James Bond discs combined. But, Fight Club is definitely treasured just because it was a Laserdisc that I tried to buy when it first came out, and I couldn't get it. So it was like a bit of a forbidden fruit. And the fact that it took me like 20 years to get that thing, makes it a little bit more important than some other ones. The World Is Not Enough was definitely one that I will have in a steel case, so it's safe from the world. But some of the other ones are just like simple regular commons, like Lord of Illusions is still one of my favorites, and I'm sad that there's as much shelf wear on that jacket as there is. I was just talking on the radio with another fan of that movie last night, and I'd love to get another like sealed copy of Lord of Illusions, because that thing is it's just that's just everything about Laserdisc is for me for that movie. It had great extra features, commentary track, killer movie, really good presentation, and it was a director's cut, so it was one of those things where you could see it in the theater and go, oh, that's an okay movie, but when it came out on Laserdisc, it was like an event. It was a really important thing. 7 Criterion, definitely. I treat that thing with kid gloves. Probably those suckers. Oh, and that Macross box above my head. I love that thing. Oh, man. Anything else? I think that's about it for questions coming in. But yeah, it's been a great ride doing this channel for a couple years, and if I can get rid of the day job, I'll just do videos every single day for sure. But thanks for hanging out, everybody. Hopefully the stream was tolerable and it wasn't too shaky. Hopefully I'll watch the playback later and check it out. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the killer questions. I had a blast. Hopefully you guys did too. And I'll be doing it again sometime soonish. So cheers, everyone. Have a magnificent weekend. And I'll be talking to you soon. Cheers.